Cody Reed did not know if he was going to race here tonight. Showed up late, missed out on practice, was here for qualifying. They're spinning and wrecking as they cross the line. White flag is out. This race is official. Cody Reed got too big of a gap. Gavin Rogers, Scioli are going to have the run. Ollie Finsick in the 24 as well is going to be right there. Malarkey as well. It is going to be a huge run that this 25 has to hold back. Here we go. Scioli goes high. Rogers falls to the 25. They're both trying to find an opening to get around this. They're on Productions machine. They're 3 wide. Ollie gives the bump to Cody Reed. Reed has the run. They're 3 wide behind. Cody Reed wins. It's go time for Hall. He's got to pass 3 drivers in 1 lap. Will he get by Forbes, or will Forbes block and defend? Hall trying to get to the inside. Forbes stays wide. Hall hits. Contact. Get out of the way, Forbes. Hall wants the win, but he overcooks the corner. He'll lose time there. Now, going to be a 2.5 back, and Richard, it might just be down to the teammates.
Where will the mistake happen? Green, looks like he's out of fuel. No, he just gets he's out of fuel. Talmadge makes the pass, and now Zach Hall coming down. But Talmadge could squeak away with this win if Hall does not get around Green fast enough.
Green just completely gives up on the chicane. He'll stay to the outside. Hall, though, he is finding himself closing in on the gap. He's a second back. Thomas Green does not there. No fuel for himself. Jared Talmadge, he doesn't have the fuel. Hall sneaks by. Final chicane. Hall overcooks it. Talmadge gets through into the wall. Who's gonna have the time? They both slow down, and it's Hall at the line. Hall.
Right now, Jared Talmadge is gonna try to throw a haymaker under number 3 into turn 3.
Down to the apron. Does Talmadge have the run? Was the dive bomb big enough? He'll slide his way into the 3. They're almost door banging off the exit of turn 4. Side by side, coming to the line, and it's gonna be Ryan Kelly with the nose. 6/1000ths of a second goes to Ryan Kelly. Benjamin Nelson, Cody Reed on the inside groove, but it's Christopher Wade, Shane Terrian gonna be leading the middle and the outside lane. Well, Christopher Wade, he gets tapped, spun, is the 53. It's down to Zach Hall, Benjamin Nelson, lock yourself into the next round. The 79 to the outside, Zach Hall in the 32 on the inside groove. Could Cody Reed be the stealer? Inside, down to the yellow line, Cody Reed steals it at the line. Before we get ourselves to the 802 Next Gen Elite Series racing action, we want to say thank you to some of the primary sponsors of the 802 Racing League. First and foremost, thank you to 802 themselves. Thank you to our post-race show sponsor, Riptide Radio. We want to also say thank you to G-Stone Motors. You can check them out in person in Middlebury, Vermont. As well, I want to say thank you to BG Graphics. As well, the 802 iRacing League podcast. And finally, the admin box. Thank you to all the major sponsors that help out with the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Now let's get ready for the racing action.
Motorsports and racing cars is a big part of the heritage here at G-Stone Motors. Todd and I have been racing each other for years. I love the one-on-one competition. When it comes bottom line, we're all behind each other and support each other with everything we do. I think that says a lot about our company's culture. I'm Vince Quinville, Service Manager at G-Stone Motors.
G-Stone Motors, your family Ford dealership, Route 7 South, Middlebury, Vermont.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Fully into the swing of things, we completed the preseason 3 races we had, and now we're into race 3 of the regular season. Doing a little bit of a throwback. We're sending it back to 2008 Atlanta as the next gen vehicles get to test out. Could they have handled this type of track and machine combo? Lots of practices going on currently. 45 drivers have registered up. Means we're going to have some knockout qualifying later on, as tonight we give you the coverage of the Hotlanta 200 for June 18th here this evening. Excited racing overall. We have seen spectacular from Michigan to Pocono, but it's time to test out the mile-and-a-half racing here in the 08 Atlanta configuration. We're excited to give you all the coverage again on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me as always on Thursday nights is Zach Hall. And Zach, certainly we're expecting a lot of these drivers to put on a test, put on a show, but what a track combo to have for our first mile-and-a-half race.
Yeah, this is a beautiful place to be starting off your season for a mile and a half. You know, I really was a big enjoyer of this track. Glad to see that iRacing kept this track and this build over all these, times and these years, because it was, kind of a track that we all remember back in the day that was a driver favorite, and is, I think that's really the biggest reason they've kept it, just because everybody knows how much of a favorite track this was to so many people. And I think even with this next gen here tonight, it's going to be some great racing because you can really spread out all around this track, and that's what the next gen loves to do.
Yeah, this next gen vehicle, a lot of people have been testing it. It's going to be a handful all throughout this evening. We're going to have our 3 key things to watch out for later on, but tonight we also want to say thank you to the major sponsors of BG Graphics, G-Stone Motors, the Admin Box, 802 iRacing League Podcast, and Riptide Radio. As we have ourselves a little bit of practice still going on before we get to the official racing action. But again, this is race 3 of the season. We've had plenty of highs and lows. And what's crazy, I think, looking at this season so far, Zach, is we have had so many new drivers popping in. The number of drivers that have ran both races so far is actually feels like smaller than those that just ran one race. And we also have a bunch of new drivers showing up for even race number 3. It's exciting to see how the 802 Next Gen Elite Series is growing each and every week. How there's always 2 to 3 drivers popping in throughout the week. They're saying, hey, I would like to test my chance here in the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. And there are a few names that were popping out that were saying, hey, those are new. And Zach, there's a couple of them that I think are going to have to be warranted. The league better watch out type drivers.
Definitely so. I think there's some definitely good names out there. I think a lot of these guys have already shown speed on the board too, so I'm very excited. It's always cool to have them one, and with such a big group that they've got here at 802, it makes everything so competitive. I mean, you kind of qualify to get into these races, and again, this is one thing I like to stress. A lot of leagues that do qualify in, they have usually, so to say, provisionals for drivers, like in points and stuff. My fallback on. Not here at 802. You have to go out there and put down your best lap to get in each and every week. So you could come into points leader and next thing not be making the show because you make a mistake on your qualifying lap. So that just shows you how competitive things here, how cutthroat they are, and you got to really be on top of your A game here. And I think that's going to be key here as we finish up these final few seconds of practice before qualifying, is getting the most out of your race car in this qualifying, because that could be the reason you don't race.
So far this season, 53 drivers have attempted to make it to racing action. Here tonight, we'll have 45 currently that have registered up. Only 40 make it to the featured event of 130 laps here at Hot Atlanta 200, where there will be no stage break, no fast repairs, only 3 extra sets of tires in pit road. But ultimately, qualifying is the first step. Can you make it in with the clean lap? Which I feel like is the fun part of having. You have to qualify your way in and no one is safe. Is drivers now have to focus. Do you want to go for the pole time, or do you want to just make it into the event? because there's some drivers where they're 90% is good enough to make it in. There's other drivers where they're 100% speed is what they need to make it into the featured race. As qualifying officially starts, all drivers are given 2 laps to put down their fastest time, but only 5 minutes to do so. You hit the wall, you hit the grass, you find yourself spinning out, you can invalidate your lap time, and you don't want that to happen when you have to qualify in. 45 drivers will attempt, but only 40 make it in, and Zach, drivers are hitting the track now.
Let's watch this, Sam, and see what lines are fast. I think that's going to be the interesting thing here because, you know, you go to some of these tracks here, and it is for sure, you know, exactly what line they're going to go out there and run their fastest lap on. Here at Atlanta, it's kind of split. You could do different things on both ends of the track and find success in every single way. So I'm very interested to see who's going to put together which combination. You know, is it running the top of 1 and 2, running the bottom of 3 and 4? Is it running the top of both corners? Is it running the bottom of both corners? So it's going to be really interesting to see who puts together the best time and what they did to do it.
And then the other extra level with the next gen car is which gears are going to be the best. Do you want to drop down to 4th or do you want to be up in 5th? There are plenty of questions all around of which ones are going to be the most optimal for these drivers. But first laps are being logged in, and it's Rob Lowell, who's one of the fastest drivers based off of average qualifying position over the last 2 races. That 21 has been the top driver to be up front. He wants to do so once again as Matt Taylor, going to be hoping for a good first lap for this 15 machine. And as many more will continue to put in their first times. And if you've got a slow lap, you better hope you got some pickup time, as currently it's the 6 of Johnny Barker that is top of the board after his first lap of a 29.712 is your current pole time.
Looks like we'll have Tyler Ducharme, one of the newcomers. He'll jump up to 3rd on the board as Grant Humphrey holds the 2nd spot. But Johnny Barker, what a job from him. And it was the first lap that produced the speed for that 6 machine. So it looks like most people finding their fastest lap on that first one. So we'll see if anybody can get anything quicker. You know, Mark Whitley was quickest in practice. His first lap, both laps, sorry, after that, he ends up 15th on the board. So surprising there for the 77 team, who was quickest. And now Isaiah Sutherland, the 74, he jumps up to 5th.
Jumping up on the board. Currently, it's still Barker top of the board, but drivers that are in worry of being knocked out is going to be Tyler Dickinson, as well as Kevin McDonald, Michael Wolf, and Jonathan Smith. Those drivers are the slowest of those that have already put down a time, but Barker top of the board. But here's a driver that we saw being fast last week. It's the 8 of Chad Coleman, who at one moment thought that Kenny Reel and Coleman were going to make contact in the final 5 laps of the race. Luckily, they survived, but Coleman, one of the faster drivers that we saw from Pocono, can he translate that speed from the tricky triangle to the D-shaped oval here tonight? Going to be the big question to watch out for, as still a couple of drivers waiting to put down their times, as one looks to be out for 100%. Tim Rogers used all 3 laps, none counted. The 81 will not be racing here tonight.
Tough break for Tim. It's just easy to make those mistakes in qualifying there when it's all on the line. As Coleman will go across the line, he'll be 24th on the board for this 8 machine, so he'll see if he can find a pickup here on the 2nd lap. But I don't know if there will be time for that, as he'll be getting slowed down. But definitely got a few drivers that are right here that are close that need everything to get out of this car, and Josh Parker's one of them.
Officially 3 drivers out of this race and will not be moving on after qualifying. Kevin McDonald, Ty Dickinson, as well as Tim Rogers officially out of this thing. Josh Parker will make it through. He bounces up to 13th on the board. And the last of drivers that are going to be trying to make it their way into this race could be the 64 of Jason Harrison, who is not out on track yet. Doesn't look like he's going to have time to get out there to even put down a lap. Zach, our driver's out. Surprisingly, the 5 of Michael Wolf, Kevin McDonald, Ty Dickinson, Tim Rogers, and the 64 of Jason Harrison. Drama filled, because a couple of those drivers I was expecting to 100% make it in. Those that sneaked their way through, Jonathan Smith in the 78 just barely makes it in, with Logan Troyer as well as Will R. Moore as well, the last three to make it in.
41 thousandths of a second it was between Wolf and Smith there for that final spot. And I mean, 41 thousandths of a second, you could go back in so many spots in this track in that lap that could find that speed or lose that speed. So again, that shows you the fine margin you're playing with here. And unfortunately for Michael Wolf and the rest of them, they will be going home.
5 drivers will not be moving on, as we will be moving over from qualifying to warm-ups, where we will have 5 minutes for a little bit of extra time for drivers that didn't make it in, sadly, are being informed you didn't have a chance to anymore. But 40 drivers will move on to racing action. And for us, it gives us a time to give you a little bit of a breakdown of where we are in the season. It's been, again, this is race 3. There's still plenty of racing action throughout the season, but this is going to start out our 4-race streak of 1.5 mile racing action. So get ready for some D-shaped racing. But let's start things off with taking a look at the points. And shockingly, Zach, this is still the early goings of how the point standings could shake up overall. But top of the board, it's the Humphreys. It's Grant and Tyler Humphrey, top of the board with himself. Steve Ritter, who had a shockingly terrible start to his first race, but has rebounded perfectly up to 3rd. Rob Lowell going to be 4th on the board, with Christopher Muse going to be in 5th. But there's a couple of names I think I was expecting to be in our top 10 that are just not there. A lot of drivers that are just surviving our top of the board.
That's for sure. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see this now after, the first 2 weeks and coming into the 3rd week. It's kind of wild to see how different it probably looked from the outlook of the races. But yeah, good on Grant Humphrey. But one thing I'll note, you got Tim Rogers 16th in points, first to the cut line out. He is not racing tonight because he did not make it in qualifying. So you're going to have one of your top 6, one of the top 20 drivers in points here not racing because, couldn't get it done in qualifying, unfortunately, for that team.
And a couple of drivers that are just not here currently that have missed out on the start. So there's a lot of speed missing out. But again, it's the key of showing up, being consistent on qualifying, and then just making it to the end of the race is going to be the key factors for getting good points here tonight. But congratulations to Grant and Tyler Humphrey for top of the board, but it's still early in the season. As we take a look at our schedule so far, we've had plenty of races with Michigan, Pocono, big draft tracks, but this is going to be the start of quite a spree of 1.5 mile races here at the 2008 Atlanta Echo Park race. Then we had to Texas, Chicagoland, Echo Park for the current Atlanta Super Speedway racing before we get to North Wilkesboro, and then Indianapolis, the race 4 to 8 section. Interesting note, just announced after last week's race, there will be a bracket brawl in a way. It will be the Next Gen Bracket Challenge. Top 32 in points get a challenge for $50. Whoever wins that bracket gets $50. So excitement is in the air for the next at least couple of 4 races.
It definitely is, Sam. Yeah, that's awesome to see the bracket challenge come into effect. And, we got this stretch of intermediate tracks. Well, right after that, you got Wilkesboro. Then, of course, not like Indy, like you said. But then you go to Iowa, Richmond, and New Hampshire. So we'll have a little stretch of some short tracks, too, right after that intermediate part. So it's going to be fun over these next few months, really just to see how everything progresses. And especially to watch those points that we just showed. Those things are going to be flip-flopping all over the place. When you have these giant fields, there's weeks that you can gain a lot, and there's weeks that you can lose a ton also.
It certainly is the case. Again, the schedule we're following is the NASCAR schedule, except for removing all of the road courses and putting in different tracks to substitute those. But, talking about how this season's been so far, we've had a couple of races in the preseason, get a sense of where drivers are at speed. And so we're now introducing our pick'ems, drivers that we feel like are those to watch out for, either those that we feel like could win this race, storyline drivers. It's a kind of a feature that we used to do before, but I wanted a small little bit of a test, get a good sample size of where drivers are at speed. So let's start out our first pick'ems of the season. Drivers that we feel like are those to watch out for. And I'm going to go with the driver that I know, that I've called plenty of times in the past. Mark Whitley felt like he had a winning vehicle last week, but a bad pitch strategy threw him out of a chance of victory. I got a sense the fastest driver from practice might pull it over here to race time. Watch out for that 77. But Zach, who do you have as your pick'em for this evening?
Well, the driver I'm going to go with tonight is the 22 of Mike Kelly. And I think the reason I'm going to go with that is, he's had a terrible start to the season. But if you watch that preseason, anybody was around, we know how good he was. We know how he could come through the field. He's going to have to do that tonight with where he qualified. Actually tied, I think, your pick in the lap time. So they're going to start right with each other. So it's going to be fun to watch our picks try to come through the field.
And then we also have our third member of our crew. That's Robert Moyer Jr., who runs production in the background. And he's going to pick the 51 of David Duran, who really shocked us with how fast he was. Some aggressive moves last week. Let's see if that aggression helps him out here at the Hot Atlanta 200. Well, key moments of tonight's race before we get to the grid. Zach, let's quickly go through them, and we'll bring them up later in the race. But here's some of your key moments to watch out for.
Definitely some key moments, like you said. First off, Atlanta Motor Speedway, always save the tires. This place is so brutal on them, so abrasive. You always got to save those tires no matter what you're doing. Another key aspect here is utilize all the racetrack to make passes. Yes, there may be one fast way around that you found, but you need to be able to get all those lines to be able to make the passes the best way. And then, of course, the white paint is your friend. It is so grippy. Put that left front tire on it, and you'll find that grip in these corners.
How well are these drivers willing to utilize the speed? Well, here's how they utilized it in qualifying. Top of the board will be the 6 machine of Johnny Barker. Last time we saw this driver grab the pole, it was during the preseason, and he led every lap at Dover. Let's see if we can translate that here at Atlanta. To his outside, going to be Grant Humphrey in the 48, your current points leader. Behind him, going to be Tyler Ducharme, who's what driver we said, watch out, this 16 could be quick. David going to be Durand in the 51 in 4th, with Tyler Humphrey in 5th. Isaiah Sutherland made some aggressive moves late, but came up short in 6th after last week's running. We'll see how well he can climb up to the lead position, with Rob Lowell in 7th. Anthony Colatoni going to be in 8th for the 84. Scott Simley, a good qualifying time for the 33, will start 9th and finish out our top 10. It's Keith Ayers in the 42.
Starting in 11th, it's going to be the 90 of Steve Holmes. Steve Ritter is going to start in 12th alongside him. 13th is going to be the 26 of Josh Parker, with Kevin Roy starting in 14th. Dustin Scoggins going to start in 15th, with Jim Ott in the 4 starting 16th. 17th is going to go to Joe Hudson. Kevin Tipton in the 95 going to start 18th. Chris Progar going to start 19th, and rounding out the top 20, it's Connor Patton.
Well, here's going to be Zach and I's picks in 21st and 22nd of Mark Whitley and Mike Kelly. Out behind them in 23rd will be Christian Angel, but Jeff Pogo in 24th. Cameron Coleman in 25th. 26th, we find the 1 of Brandon Garand, who's going to be seeing the 15 of Mike Taylor in 27th. Eric Jensen going to be in 28th, with Devin McCaffrey in 29th, and finish out our top 30. It's the 30 machine of Arabia Kate in the 3rd.
Starting in 31st, going to be the 71 of Brett Hahn. Jeff Gilmore going to start in 32nd. 33rd is going to be Timothy Parker, with Colin Trabas starting in 34th. Derek McDonald's going to start 35th. David Glass in 87 going to make his debut tonight in 36th. 37th is going to go to the 10 of Scott Drost. William R. Moore going to start in 38th. Logan Schroyer going to start 39th. And rounding out our 40 cars is Jonathan Smith.
And the admins will be throwing a yellow as a little bit of trouble happening in the middle of the field. The drivers get in the right positions, but also, shockingly, Zach, the Humphreys, our points leaders entering tonight. Both going to be Grant and Tyler stuck in pit road. There is trouble arising for the both of them. That is terrible to see for the both of them, as they will have to wait and until we officially go green for them to leave pit road, and they're going to need a quick caution to get back into the mix.
Definitely so. And I mean, with how they qualified, with how they've been in points, this is a heartbreak, man, because they've started their season off so well. I mean, it was looking like it was going to continue tonight, but this is going to kind of dig a little bit of a hole for both of them. But hopefully they'll be able to get out of pit road here once the green flag drops, and then at least maybe at some point get caught up by some yellow flag. So we'll see how this works out for that group. But man, oh man, it's going to definitely set up some interesting things now, because this is going to allow a few other cars to come up to the outside there and lead the road.
We're back to see exactly the reasoning why we had to restart ourselves with an extra lap. That's not traditional that we see here in the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. It looked like there was some trouble in the middle of the field. Christian Angel got a little bit gutsy with the throttle and spun around when leaving the pit road. I mean, leaving from the start finish line. So a little bit of troubles in the middle of the pack for the 79, but luckily no damage was accrued. Everyone's stacked up and ready to go. Again, 2 drivers starting from pit road. It's gonna be Grant Humphrey and Tyler Humphrey. We'll see how well they can recover. Will we see a quick caution, or will we see some green flag racing? It's time for the temperature to rise as the Hot Atlanta 200 is underway, as Johnny Barker in the 6 machine gets a fabulous launch for himself as he takes off down into turn number 1, having the 51 of Durant trying to find a way to work the outside groove as everyone else. Find your spacing, find the clean air, as here we go off of turn 2.
Gonna be a ton of spreading out here for sure as these laps go on, because these drivers need to find the air like Sid was talking about. And right now, Barker going to have control of it, running way up the racetrack. But it's Duran, black flag for that restart, and we've seen this before. That's not going to get cleared.
No, he is pleading for it to get cleared, but no one over the radio is going to be taking that away. I'll be shocked if they do, as it was a passing the leader penalty given to the 51. As he tries to ride the inside, and the rest of the field better be careful, because Durand better get ready. He's gonna have to most likely serve this flag given to him. Another driver kind of shockingly fell to the back. That's Joe Hudson. As they were coming out of turn number 2, he dropped to the back, and shockingly, Zach, the admins did remove the penalty from the 51.
Yeah, that was surprising. We've seen a few of those penalties before that didn't get cleared, so we weren't sure how that was going to play out, but they make the decision to clear it. So for Duran, he's going to take on to that. Here we go, Sutherland going around.
Sutherland in front of the field. They better slow up as everyone scatters around. The 74 heads, but no, Pogo runs into him, and that makes the melee of multiple drivers piling in and getting a little bit of extra damage.
This is exactly what you don't want to see here early, these hurt cars, but it's just a product of sometimes these vehicles step out so easily, and I wonder if even that was a little bit of a not help contact wise, but almost what we see sometimes with the aero packing, but what we consider as the late contact. But I think Sullivan unfortunately just lost the rear end there off the 2.
It's the 74. Isaiah Sutherland will be the first driver of note. Curious, we get a little bit of a wider camera shot of this, but drivers were trying to come off the exit of turn number 2. You can see Anthony Calatoni trying to ride on the inside, but just snapping loose, was all on the 74 on his own. And then you watch from behind, everyone's trying to get around. All they can see for majority of them is just smoke. And drivers are trying to blow up, some don't, but locking up, you saw there for a glimpse before this action, was the 92. And as he just overcooks the tire, slams to the outside, and multiple other drivers getting a good piece of it. Taylor, you saw get more contact, and there's a few others getting some nose damage.
Boss, they're coming in late. You also had the 15, I believe, of Matt Taylor. He was the one that kind of nosed into the outside wall, and it was really, Pogo was just trying to get slowed up, just I think locked up the rears, and from there it was kind of chaos because everybody before that actually somehow miraculously survived and got around that. I mean, Scott Simley, he had a great job to get around that wreck and navigate it, but man, that is why you got to be on your toes in these big fields, man. And look, Pogo's, he was just trying to get on the brake, and just the rear was gone.
And one driver out of all of that who we haven't even seen how he made the contact was the 99 of Eric Jensen, the only driver to get required damage from that incident. And Zach, you'd say from that shot alone, where was the required damage? It looked like it could be a broken toe length, as you're going to see the 99 just come flying through and just massive contact as they hit the backstretch.
We'll have to see exactly what happens, but yeah, I'm expecting a definite broken toe link. It looks like getting it slowed down the best he can, and unfortunately nowhere to go. Yeah, left front broke as he went to the left there to miss that wreck, and yeah, it's not even going to be spinning on that tire anymore because of just how much damage it's at suspension. But man, oh man, it just shows you again, giant fields like this, things happen so fast. You just got to always be on your toes when you're in the middle of these fields, and especially, we saw the condition with Pogo there, lose the rear end as he jumped on the brakes. I can tell you one thing a lot of people do in this race car is run a ton of rear brake. Usually we're fighting a lot of times the front end of this next gen car, just not wanting to get, into the racetrack and turn all the best, especially when you're in that dirty air. So you try to run as much rear brake bias to kind of help that condition, help your balance of your race car. But when you have incidents like that where you have to kind of come to an immediate stop, those brakes are just a little too much to the rear, and you're going to have that kind of same condition that just played out.
Big thank you to the major sponsors. That's BG Graphics as your sponsor for the caution, G-Stone Motors for sponsoring replays, and you saw pop up at the bottom the admin box 1 to green. As we're about to go back to green flag racing. A few drivers still sit in pit road. Eric Jensen, Isaiah Sutherland, Jeff Pogo, all still sit in pit road. Rest of the field ready to get back to racing action. This really helps the Humphreys of Tyler and Grant as they had to start pit road after a little bit of complications at the start of this race. So now they're going to be having a good run to take off and be with the field as everyone else stacked up It will be Johnny Barker, David Durand, the 51 on the inside, helping for a good run, but the 6 is the control vehicle on the outer groove as we are to green flag. A lot of wheel spin, though, out front on the inside as Durand falls backwards. Rob Lowell on the outside. Big runs. They're already 3 wide for third place.
And they are. They're not waiting after that wheel spin there from that 51 machinist to 84 at Anthony Calatoni going to the inside. He's going to have also the 33 of Scott Simley working that top. And it's going to be Rob Lowell who slid up in the second. But, man, oh, man, it's just showing you right here. Everybody running a separate line, and mostly that is just to find air.
Find air so that nose is willing to turn, as well as those drivers on the outside. Better be careful. There's some nasty bumps through 3 and 4 that you got to be careful of on the outside groove. But you're seeing already using everything and a little bit of the wall. Rob Lowell bouncing off the center of the corner of the 21. Searching a little bit too far, too early. And already on lap 8, some drivers are ascending it for everything on this outer groove.
That's for sure. And we see Rob Lowell. He had a few moments into the wall there at Pocono, too. So a few of these drivers willing to really use up those right sides. And, these cars are very durable with the composite bodies. They're so stiff and they're so, robust that you can kind of do that and get away with it a few times. But after a little while, it definitely will be an issue as Rob Lowell there once again was really high up the racetrack, but it looks farther back. Was a little
slipping and sliding into 16, going for a big slide. We continue to stay green as he's off the racing surface. Rest of the field drives on by. The 16 comes to a halt. He's waiting for everyone to drive on by so then he can get back out on track, and we continue to stay green, but just a little bit of overcorrection that tosses the 16 off the track as we continue to race on.
Charman definitely going to have a tough time. You wreck down low like that sometimes. There's no yellows here on iRacing, and that is a tough break for sure. He'll have upset tires and a ton of time losses. He's only about 22 seconds from the lead after just that spin there. So luckily, no major hits to the wall, but that's going to definitely be a tough time to make up from that.
Certainly will be. A couple of drivers already up multiple double digits in positions. Kind of the lead drivers is 10th, 11th, and 12th place runners. And that's Connor Patton, Mark Whitley, and Mike Kelly that are on the charge in the middle of the pack. You can see up front, though, Zach, it is just seeing Scott Simley. And this 33 was the driver of probably 3 or 4 that we knew coming from the preseason were going to be fast drivers. Top 5s, top 10s were expected. But luckily, has been surviving some of the bad luck that his teammate Mike Kelly has had. But this 33, we know, will be a threat, especially at this mile-and-a-half type course.
For sure. I mean, Charlotte, he was so quick in that preseason. So he was so impressive, and he was always really good at running the top side. So I'm interested to see tonight how that's going to work, because from what I'm watching, a lot of people are starting to flirt with that top groove. It can be sometimes a little bit of a tough situation when you're flirting with that top groove. You can kind of use up a little too much tire sometimes with the speed you can carry. So I'm interested to see maybe some of these drivers running lower will benefit from running down low and just run a little slower pace at the beginning. But at the moment, everybody looking to slide their way into that top groove to make most of these passes.
And Andrew Morris out in chat, you say that you're a Jeff Gilmore fan, and I've got some bad news for you. Jeff Gilmore's just been pulled off the track. iRacing deemed unsafe. The 57 blinking too much and is parked due to internet connection issues. We'll see if the 57 can get those issues fixed up. Already 1 lap down. As you're seeing the drivers side by side, Connor Patton get a little bit antsy there with Stephen Holmes. And as they were getting squeezed up, Kelly sees the opportunity. 2 for 1 special as the 22 moves into 9th place.
Great move right there. That was so good. And he's actually going to lose maybe a little rear end, but he's able to slide up to the outer groove. But now he's going to have McCaffrey down below on the inside of him. Actually, sorry, that's actually Connor. The colors threw me off there for a second, but the 37 was up the inside, and he was able to get a good enough run off of 4 to challenge him 1 and 2. But Kelly's going to clear down the back straightaway. As here you see Sutherland getting up the speed after the damage repair.
11 laps down is the 74 as he's going to just ride the inside. We'll see how much speed is underneath him, as well as expected. Most likely the 74 might have taken tires, so he'll compete even with the wounded vehicle that he has right now. But see how much Sutherland is going to play nice with the lead lap drivers, or will he try to drive on through? As you're seeing Holmes as well as Whitley trying to find a way to get around as behind them. Trouble for the 95 of Kevin Tipton. He hits the inside wall hard, trying to stay low on the apron as we continue to stay green. Once again, a great lockdown moment as Tipton tries to get rolling, but a big slide that will take huge damage. And Tipton still looking a little out of control. If oncoming traffic hits, we might have a caution. It looks like he's going to stay on the apron and try to head to pit road.
Those tires so hot, he couldn't get those tires to grip up after spinning. So tough break there for Tipton, and I have to go back myself and see exactly how that played out. He had no contact, just a little bit loose off of 2. So unfortunately, he did make contact to the inside wall too. So Tipton going to have some decent damage on the left side, as he's going to be right ahead of our leaders once he gets back up to speed now.
And seeing a little bit of battling back and forth, a couple of positions all around. There's battling happening for 4th place as well as on screen. There's a battle for 6th with Steve Ritter and the 4 of Jem Ott. 61 able to hold on for that position for now. And on screen is the 98 on screen, but on your ticker is actually the 51 of David Duran. So a little bit of mistakes made of putting the right schemes and numbers on. I mean, we have such a big field, it can happen at times. As trouble, wreck on the front stretch, more drivers piling in, and it's the 44 and few others getting tagged. They'll bring out another caution here tonight.
Dustin Coggins backwards here at the start-finish line to bring out their second caution, and definitely a condition we see a lot. We're going to see a lot, I think, tonight. This track so bumpy, these cars so stiffly sprung, they're easy to get out of shape, and once they get out of shape, they're hard to save, these next gen cars. So we'll watch this 44 here. He's going to be running that top side, and he's going to have that 74 of Isaiah Sutherland, who is the car who's come out new tires, but is a very damaged race car also. So he's not the most on pace, but he's going to have really no effect here. But it's going to be the 44 who goes into 3 here, kind of goes over the bumps. There's a set of bumps right here, and that once he goes over those bumps, I can really see the car just get upset. And fortunately, he lost it in the grass. He locked it down, but unfortunately, it's coming back across the track, and there you can see heavy hit. I'm not sure exactly what car that was, Sam.
That was Timothy Parker in the 18 that took the heavy damage of the teal, and you can see there the front right completely jacked up, very similar to Eric Jensen's front damage, and just nowhere to go. It was the car ricochets as we're right on board with Timothy Parker in the 18 on this G-Stone Motors replay as we're under a BG Graphics caution. Smoke, and then there's car. And the 18 takes the brunt of it and most likely will be out of this race. As similar to Jensen, it's just there's so much damage you have to work on to get that right front tire fixed. By the time that it is fixed, you could see your engine expiring, in which that is what happened to the 99. His night is officially over and done. Other drivers officially done is Matthew Taylor, and big props to Jeff Gilmore. For those Jeff Gilmore fans out there, he has reconnected in properly. Only problem, he's 3 laps down, so gonna need a little bit of help. But Zach, this is gonna be an interesting caution. I'm not expecting drivers to pit and take tires, but this is an opportunity to take tires for a few that already have done so, and that's the drivers back from 23rd all the way back to about 30th, deciding to either use a set or top it off on fuel.
That's what it's looking like from a lot of these drivers, is kind of a little bit of a split bag from the people who pit. Some definitely took 4. I mean, one of the first to lead them down was Connor Patton and Mark Whitley, both those drivers taking 4. They're going to be about 24th, 25th on this restart, so definitely puts them in a little bit of an interesting danger zone, I'd say. But I will say also those tires are going to be a nice addition to what they got, because before we got that yellow, the leader was running about a 30, or sorry, the leader was running about a 30.5. And his fastest lap of the day is a 29.6. So we were seeing almost a second of fall off. So those new tires are going to be a benefit. Just going to be interesting to see how they can manage to get through the traffic of these older tires. And right before we go green, I'm curious if we can bring up the weather. We talk about how this track is notoriously known as Hotlanta. It's the Hotlanta 200 here tonight, but not as warm as the air temperature, currently at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, track temp at 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Not a lot of wind, so just proving to your point, Zach, the bumps are the major factor. This old surface has been the trouble.
and we know the older tires are going to be a struggle. We'll see how well the new tires can carve their way through the field. Are you willing to be patient? Are you at all prepared for maybe this crazy closing rate we could be seeing of fresh tires versus old? As pace car is about to pull off, it's going to be Barker, Simley, Lowe, Elatoni, and Ritter, your top 5. We're about to go back to green flag racing. Green flag is out of the air for Barker. Good launch for himself on the outside row. It's not going to be the duel for second place. He's simply trying to hold back Rob Lowell, who looks strong on the outer groove as we head down into turn 1.
Loads up to put the power down to that second car on the bottom line, and it's going to be 3 wide. As I say, that's Calatoni takes advantage of the restart. He goes up the inside. Now going to be fighting with Lowell, but it's going to be Simley getting the push from Steve Ritter here as they head off into 3 and 4. And now look at this, David Duran, Josh Parker, multiple others looking to get into the picture here as these tires look to warm up from that restart.
Almost contact going to be made by Josh Parker. Again, Parker, one of the final drivers, put down a qualifying time and luckily made it into the featured event race here tonight. Currently making some big moves for himself, up 6 positions, but you're seeing everyone squeezing a little bit more off the exit of turns 2 and 4. And just though, speaking of squeezing action, that 6-2-1 of Ritter and Simley almost contact. And speak about contact, hold on to your seats. That's a big save by Josh Parker for himself as they were getting close, and the aero package, you could just tell, was unsettling every vehicle in that 3-wide battle.
No doubt. When you get cars side by side, there's just so much effect going on between each of them. Is now Simley going to drop to the inside here of the 26 of Parker. He's going to try to go back for the 4th position, but everybody fighting to get to that top line. It's just showing you the momentum up there, the grip up there is just working really well for this car.
In the middle of the pack, it is a danger zone. It's a minefield, you could say, of new tires versus old, and seeing the newer tires finally starting to heat up and move forward. Mark Whitley is going to be the lead charger of that in the 77. There were a couple of scary moments for the 37 of Patton and a few others that are trying to carve their way through as trouble just continues to arise. It looks like the main driver of focus that I'm seeing is David Glass, and the 87 is falling backwards, as well as Derek McDonald. Those two are running slow and are just being pounced, and a lot of drivers forced to go 2 to 3 wide to get around those drivers.
It's such a sketchy moment sometimes with that, is drivers farther back in the pack. I believe someone like Connor Patton and Christian Angel, back in 19th. Those drivers almost making some contact, and even some smoke flying down the back straightaway as drivers, again, trying to find any way around with these fresher tires. It's really all sort of like a melee.
And Mark Whitley with closing in, trouble up ahead. It is Calatoni into the grass for the 84 as he finally gets rolling, and just drivers are getting right onto the back bumper of others, making them lose the rear ends, get even more loose than if they were by themselves. As the 84 bounces away and finally going to get rolling onto the racing surface, but more trouble for Scott Simley. Old tires are struggling right now, Zach. It's a sign that maybe you should have taken tires, because everyone is slipping and sliding off of every corner right now.
It's very tough. I mean, the cars look already loose, and a lot of people are fighting for the same exact line. And what that's going to cause, and what we can all say now with this next-gen car, is the aero grief. When you get to the rear bumper, you just take all the downforce off of a car. It's almost what the Xfinity car does, you know, in the real life NASCAR racing. You know, it's kind of that effect too, of where you just really lose all your grip. And when you lose grip in this next gen car, it's so different. You know, there's really nothing to lean on, it feels like sometimes when you lose grip. And that's why I think the aero grief becomes such a big issue sometimes, that it's almost unsavable from some moments. Luckily, some drivers are able to counter, and look at that.
Saw right there, the 37 got right to the 10's back bumper, and there he goes again, down, and going to be into Coleman. Big save by the 8 machine, and just seeing the faster vehicles right up to the rear end, forcing the 10 to get loose, and just lost everything there. Massive save by Dross in the 10 machine, which is showing it is a scare of seeing these faster drivers just rolling up. And Dross has now got a wall to worry about of drivers that are just on top of each other.
I think that was the perfect time and perfect example. Though this happening up here with Jonathan Smith. in Chris Procar. It's just you really have nowhere to go sometimes when you get stuck up behind somebody, and you're not even meaning to get them loose, but it just does. And once they start to get loose, we saw it with Dross there. It's hard not to get loose again because those tires just continue to overheat as you slide. Look at this Ducharme. He thought about going around the top, and they luckily had the door opened as the yellow's out.
Yellow is out,
Coleman.
trouble on the front stretch, and seeing drivers all around. There's Isaiah Sutherland, Tipton, and a few others. But ultimately, it's Isaiah Sutherland and David Glass having to go for a spill. And looking at it, it was the 74 of Isaiah Sutherland trying to check up. And the unfortunate of number 10 of Dross involved in the chaos as well.
This is tough. Sutherland, multi-lap down car, and those that are trying to complete laps, but sometimes you got to be, knowing the situation of how many laps you're down, there's no reason to go out there and push your car to the limits. I mean, you're not going to make up 13 laps out here from really even cautions. I mean, there's other people's lap down, and he just snaps, loses the rear end, similar to what he did there in 2 earlier, but this time I think it's, that
My goodness.
big.
As that was Derek McDonald that came screaming through, as well as a few other drivers just getting extra damage after the incident had already happened. Yellow flag was out, and just it's so difficult to slow down. And multiple drivers just piling in. You lock on the brakes and just pushes you to the outside wall, and hard contact for the 72, who will take it right on board with Derek McDonald and get a sense of what he saw. And just, you see smoke, you're trying to slow down and just didn't slow down enough, and running right into the already parked Sutherland.
What that really right there is just slowing down a little too late. I mean, he saw it. You could tell he started to slightly slow down, but when you got to jab the brake that hard, it's going to make the car upset. So that's why when you see that smoke, sometimes it's just better to get a little, just progressively slow that speed down a little bit at a slower rate instead of having to do it all at once like that, where, there's a basic maneuvers.
I wonder if we can go back. I know we saw a little bit of a glimpse of it. The 9 machine of Tyler Humphrey, second in points into tonight. And another sense of just not able to slow down in time, and second in points. Even if you're top of the points, you've been doing good at surviving. Sometimes it's just not there. As the 9 machine heavy front end damage as he came in late into this incident.
Yeah, this is a situation where, again, sometimes you got to realize just a little bit how far back you are, and you're not going to really gain too much with the wreck already happening and the yellow being out. So you just got to be able to sometimes slow down a little better. And unfortunately for him, he caught a few of the cars there. So I don't think we're about to get the replay of it, but unfortunately just couldn't get it slowed up enough to not make the contact with a few others.
Yeah, black flag ended the line penalty for Jim Ott, caught speeding after getting service for himself. So the 4 machine will have to go to the end of the line for this upcoming restart. But the 9 luckily able to continue to race on, but heavy front end damage for himself moving forward. Again, black flags, required damage flags given for Scott Dross, Derek McDonald, and also in pit road is the 87 of David Glass. Rest of the field ready to get back to racing action. The 21 of Rob Lowell, though, Zach, based on my telemetry I'm seeing, the only driver not to pit. So we'll see what 35 lap old tires can compete with those that are on 14 lap old tires. That's Mark Whitley in second, all the way back to 7th place to Brett Hahn. And then those that just pitted right now, 8th on back, just got freshies. So this is going to be a madhouse once again. The 21 is the driver of can he survive the speed that's behind him? Pace car to pit road, into the restart zone, and we're green once again for the Hotlanta 200. A little bit of a checkup throughout the field as the 21, the 7, and the 77 take off and go.
Great job by Rob there getting up the speed. That's the biggest check mark to do. Do not spin the tires and put yourself right in the hornet's nest. Kind of give yourself a little space here, and he did a great job through 1 and 2 to even hold on to the lead. So we'll see how long it takes for the tires to really fire up for the group behind him. But I think at some point he will be a little bit under attack here. It's just he's going to hope that it's just a little bit more spread out when that happens.
It's taking off and going. You can see the pirate yellow machines. That's Connor Patton as well as David McCaffrey that are the drivers that are trying to push their way forward, and they've been looking good in the middle of the field. But up front for the lead, Mark Whitley trying to find a way to make the pass, not able to do so just yet as everyone behind just slashing and dashing, trying to block and defend on the straightaways when you're able to use that rear bumper as a defensive move. But gotta be careful once you get in the corners. These drivers have been ruthless on just making the driver in front lose all their rear ends with this aero griefing we've been calling it throughout tonight.
It's definitely a thing that you gotta worry about. And I tell you what, we talk about the old tires of Rob Lowe. He runs about a tenth slower than his fastest lap of the race right there. So cooling the tires down under caution, it shows. Yeah, the old tires are old here, and that once they start to heat up, it will be a disadvantage. But the tires can cool down under these cautions, and you can get some life back in them for a few laps.
We saw it under that last restart of the fact that those that pitted and had about a 20 lap advantage on tires, you weren't really able to utilize as much as that speed. It took about 3 to 5 laps when you finally saw the newer tires really elevate to being the better set of tires to have overall. As the 6 of Johnny Barker, the freshest set of tires, now moves up into second place. The 6 wants to get to the lead as quickly as possible as he currently rides behind the 77, but Zach, here's the middle of the pack. You're seeing Mark Whitley's teammate, 72, starting to fall backwards of Jonathan Smith.
Jonathan Smith there, yeah, definitely under attack a little bit there as he's going to be on a fresh set of tires, so he's looking to find his way around McCaffrey.
Trouble! Mark Whitley and others going all around. Hard contact to the inside. It's going to be Mike Kelly. Chris Progard. Mark Whitley and others. The 7 and the 77 going for a ride. And what bizarre moments! It's just you blink and somebody's spinning out of these corners.
Wow, I mean, I tell you, like, Whitley's all by himself kind of doing it. Brogard's was kind of a little bit of a aero grease situation where he slides up in front of Rob Lowe, and I think that kind of got him loose. But man, oh man, it just shows you that tonight you have to be on your toes. And this next gen car, it doesn't just play with you when you get sideways, it bites. And look right here, Lowell's gonna be in a tough spot. Well, Ducharme flying up there on the rear end like that. I was worried about that exit there for the 21. Luckily he holds it together, but he's gonna hope not to have that 16 tucked up right behind him here on this corner.
And you're gonna see the 16 duck to the inside, and that is a gentleman's move to just get off the rear end. But even if you get to someone's quarter panel, that still is unsettling the vehicle off the exit of the corner. So this 21, you'll have to be careful on 30, but now make it 42 lap old tires compared to the rest of the field. It's the 22 of Mike Kelly goes for a slide off of turn number 4 as he saves it, and it's just going to be save after save after save. The radio call has been calling that, but no longer correct in the middle of the pack, and it's Will R. Moore on the front stretch and a few others going for a slide.
It has been inevitable here tonight for drivers. It's just no grip, it looks like, for a lot coming through the corners. I mean, Will R. Moore was the driver that eventually spun out and brought the yellow out, but I tell you, there was about 3 or 4 other cars up ahead of him just losing the rear end of their race cars. So it just it's looking very, very tough for a lot of drivers out here, man.
There's the hard contact of Colin Trebass that gets in there late by the 39. And I mean, Zach, we're not even 50 laps in, and we've already lost over 10 drivers here tonight. I don't know if drivers are going to make it to the end of we might be down to 15 drivers, maybe even 20 by the end of it tonight, with how much these drivers have to save. And it's so tough. The hardest part is when you're trying to make that correction coming off the corner and you accidentally turn a little bit too far to the right because this car just grips up and you're gone. And there's nothing you can do when it finally grips up and heads to the outside wall.
Yeah, exactly, Sam. I mean, it is a car that doesn't really have any wiggle room for errors, you know. It is. I mean, we saw it. You can see it in real life with Chase Elliott. I think that's why you got to give Iverson so much credit, because these tires and the way they react with, wow, that hit is so immense. But the way these cars react just seems so realistic. With it just bites. You know, when you go to save it, the front tires finally do grip, and when they do grip up, you kind of just hook turn back across the track, and that's why you see a lot of these conditions where people start sideways and then they end back off to the right into the wall, because these cars just hook up and lose grip at such a moment's notice.
Well, finally making his first pit stop of the night. It's going to be the 21 of Rob Lowell. He'll come out of pit road in 20th position. And with chatter over the radio, and a lot of drivers talking about, can we try to chill out on aero griefing against one another? And if you're just joining us, thank you for hopping on and hopping on board and watching a Freaky Fast broadcast. You're currently watching the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. This is race 3, first season of the Next Gen Elite Series at the 2008 configuration of Atlanta. Let's bring up our race report. We're only 45 laps into this race, but we've only had 4 cautions, Zach, a total of 3 lead changes, 3 different leaders. But with how much drivers have been slipping and sliding, we probably could be up to around 8 cautions at this point if every spin was a yellow.
That's for sure, yeah. If everyone counted on the apron, we definitely could have a few more of those yellow flags. And you know what yellow flags do? They breed other ones. They make more. They just stack things up. They make everything more risk-filled. And I think going to be an interesting time now for a lot of these drivers who have figured out that you can't. You really just got to find that nice area to sit in of comfort, because if you're not comfortable and you're over pushing it, we see what happens with drivers quickly. You can just lose the rear end and you'll be quickly losing all your track position.
And if you've got the ability to do so, we love to see you out in chat. Who are you rooting for? We got some people rooting for Connor Patton. We've got also Devin McCaffrey fans out there, Jeff Gilmore fans out there. And Jeff Gilmore, I mean, due to the fact of, yes, he was pulled off the track, back out on track. He went 3 laps down. Zach, he's just 1 lap down. The only driver 1 lap down. If you get another caution, the 57 isn't involved. He's back on the lead lap, and he's trying to do a Steve Ritter right now, which was similar to what the 61 had to deal with at the first race at Michigan. So we'll see if there's a little bit of magic there. As pace car is off, we're about to go back to green flag racing as it's Barker, Ritter, take off and go as the rest of the field follow in suit as we roar down into turn number 1.
And start from the top side. Once again, it seems like that's been the common trend, is now Parker jumping to the inside. He wants to lead us. He's going to dive to the inside of Barker and slide up in front of him. So Johnny Barker taking control of the lead there on that restart, but it's Parker who takes control in turn 1.
Josh Parker in the 26 wants to have a chance to lead here tonight. The 26 having a good run as he gets up front, up 12 positions from where he started, qualified back in 13th. He's done a fabulous job for himself overall. Here's Anthony Calatoni, who had a big save earlier, was in the grass, now find himself back inside of the top 10. And this is a good recovery run for the 84. Got a couple of drivers did pit that are 20th on back that just got a new set of tires, got a little bit of repairs. As Jonathan Smith, big sweeping move to the inside. Here's Joe Hudson. And Joe Hudson's been having an interesting run for the 23. He had a big slide, got aero griefed himself, but he's given up a lot of positions on these restarts, just dropping low and getting out of the way. We'll see if he'll do that here on this running as Chad Coleman, watching Rob Lowell stuck on the outside of this 21, the lane that he was preferring to run earlier in this race, now clogged up with other drivers. He's got to search for other lanes.
Definitely got to search for other lanes, and it's tough. I mean, you can see here right on Lowell, there's a car in the bottom, there's a car in the middle, there's a car in the top. And so you literally are just finding half bits a lane of clean air, and that's really all you can do when you're back here. So Lowell's got a lot of work to do, but he's going to try his best to work his way back up through the field and now be on a set of tires comparable to everybody. And look, he thought for a moment to go 3 wide. He's going to go through the middle, but luckily that car on the inside backs out.
Backs out, and also the 90 machine of Stephen Holmes, big save for himself off the exit turn number 2. As he had a driver on his rear bumper battling just outside of the top 10. Now will fall outside of the top 20. Is the 90 in a blink of an eye. As drivers all around trying to search for a good position to move forward. We got the 1 also having a recovery run for themselves as Rob Lowell works the inside, makes that pass work, and a good run overall. Now we're going to bounce up due to some of these more front runners. Been seeing a lot of racing action. The battle for the lead starting to heat up. But honestly, Zach, it's everything from about 5th on back. That's been kind of the fun thing to see of drivers going 3 wide at times. And ultimately, it's now seen Steve Ritter holding strong for 4th. But for how long can the 61 stay there with Simley right on the quarter panel?
Ooh, that was close. Yeah, when Simley slid up there, Ritter definitely started to lose the rear end a little bit, and Durand all over the back bumper of Simley even. So it is just, again, go where your competition's not, and just hope that when you slide up, you're not that close to the front bumper of another car, because it can really cause a lot of issues for drivers. But we'll see how this works, as Barker through all this has been able to take the lead back, because now Simley, he's going up the inside, and also he's going to have Durand there too. So it is almost 3 wide there on the exit, as Simley had to lift a little bit to slide back in.
As we're just seeing these drivers throwing it down, big sliders, and hoping that it sticks at times. Simley, you can see center of the corner is where he is really accelerating up. It's the exit, though, where he doesn't have the space to work with that's allowing Ritter to hold strong, and contact's made. 61 saves. Simley from the apron, back on track. More contact between the two of them, and Kelly slices his way through, and Ritter, better be careful. You're now in the hornet's nest. You're in the thick of things from a big slide and contact. What are those tires looking like, as now they head into turn number 3? And you went from clean air to you're in the madhouse if you're the 61.
That is such a tough break, and he's just going to have to hold on his best. Don't let the tires overheat too much, and then as the farther you get back into this nest of drivers back here, it just gets tougher and tougher. So Ritter are going to have to find his way back forward, but we'll see how it works out, as he's going to get passed by the 42 of Keith Ayers. But as I say that, he fights back down the back straightaway.
Well, Zach, we're 21 laps into this run. This is usually when we start to see those drivers 21 lap old tires. And oh no, there goes Smith. I was just about to say, this round we see cautions or trouble arise. And oh no, Rob Lowe involved. Huge contact on the front stretch. And will there be any more contact as more drivers try to scoot on by, and it just grows into a bigger one?
Kevin Roy, the driver that came in there, got the last little bit of that piece. And man, oh man, we saw the 72, you were just about to say it, Sam, is getting that time, and he had, I believe it was Jim Ott. Not that close in the fourth, but I'm telling you, sometimes it's wild how far away you can get affected by that car from behind. But you can see there in the Netco just taking the 21 out too. No contact even being made, and that is just tough for Lowell.
And then there was more contact. You also saw there of the 88, Kevin Roy, as well as the 8 of Chad Coleman, getting a glimpse of it. That's more drivers out of this thing. We already were up to 30 drivers were left. How many more will continue to drive after this one, as 57 laps are completed. Here we go. There's the net code contact. You see, there was no actual physical damage. There was a gap between then this 88 into the 8, and that's it on extra drivers added to the madhouse, as 88 of Kevin Roy just nowhere really to go for himself. As we ride on board the hood view, there's smoke. Where's the cars? And you just can't turn down enough because there's other vehicles around you.
It's so heartbreaking for a few of these guys. I mean, Lowell was having a great race up front, decides to stay out. He gets a little off sequence, and that just shows you giving up track position can be so valuable. Some of these tracks can really put you in terrible situations. And for him, unfortunately, the net code is going to catch him out, as we are under caution for the latest incident.
As a couple of drivers going to get some damage repair for themselves, as we are under ABG graphics caution, as you got to see some of those G-Stone Motor replays. Thank you so much to all the amazing sponsors that have tagged on board for Season 1 of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. First and foremost, we want to say thank you to G-Stone Motors. If you're out in the Vermont area of Middlebury, you can check out G-Stone Motors. Whether you're looking for a work-ready truck or performance vehicle, trust the team that supports racing in the Northeast for generations. Visit G-Stone Motors in that Middlebury, Vermont area today, where you're not just a customer, you're family. We also want to say thank you to BG Graphics. That's graphics with an X. Go check out all the different ways that they can find you graphics, from company logos to iRacing team logos to race-winning posters and schedule layouts and so much more. BG Graphics can be found on Facebook at www.facebook.com/BG Graphics with 2 X's at the end. Reach out today and mention the fact that you heard them here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for 10% off. We also want to say thank you to our white flag sponsor of the 802 iRacing League podcast. Go to listen to all the different racing conversations from in sim and in real life on all podcast stations, from YouTube, Apple Music Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. On YouTube, you can try to find them out on 802 iRacing League Podcast today. Cars are ready for racing action. Zach, it's been a pleasure to give the call so far. About to be starting up lap 60. We're almost to halfway. But man, has this been even worse than I expected on how bad the aero is affecting these vehicles. As we are about to get to green flag racing action, Johnny Barker going to lead the way. To his inside will be Tyler, going to be Ducharme, who's going to be the 16. We saw be quick, qualified in third, fell back with a big slide. How can we find this Doom machine getting up front? Well, it's time to go back to green flag racing, and once again, it's the outside road being led by Johnny Barker that gets the good launch. The 16, though, already covering off. Gonna be Durand over to go for the 51. Gonna be seeing Josh Parker with the big run for himself as they exit at turn number 2. It's all Johnny Barker as he's being challenged by the 16 into 3. All these drivers finding their footings, finding their space, but it's going to be Ducharme who's got the ready-to-go action as the 16 rips the top and able to finally lead a lap. Gotta be careful, though. These drivers trying to get to those rear bumpers. We've seen the aero griefing, drivers being pushed around, but Josh Parker, huge surge through the center of the corner, but not enough space to carry on with that momentum. Everyone's searching everywhere, high and low, and it's the 6 machine of Barker that is falling backwards for now, as he will fall back to the battle for second place as David Durand, big surge into turn number 1. And as Ducharme, who's going to be looking good in the 16, Tyler is trying to pull away. Durand, big slider off the exit of the corner, going to be swapping back and forth as Barker going to be finding his way to the inside. Mike Kelly now into the mix. And it is just a swapping of positions of who wants to be taking complete control. And I'm getting slightly nervous as the tires start to heat up. Zach, this is getting to the point of these are bigger moves than we saw before. And you got to sense someone's going to lose it up front if they continue these big sliders.
No doubt, yeah. With the slider, you slide up in front of that driver, you lose the rear end. Next thing you know, you're going to be one of the drivers sliding down like we've seen into that inside wall. And man, this race has picked up. Everybody feels like the outside is where to be. And I'm kind of surprised more are just going to the inside just because others are all up there. I think they're just thinking, if I give up that top, I might be vulnerable to someone behind.
And also, you're just not getting the same run off the exit of the corner as those guys that are ripping the top. If you're on the inside, yeah, you might close it. You might even make a pass for one position. You might lose that position, though. Once you get to the back stretch or the front stretch, seeing a little bit of side-by-side action, deep in the field. An update for those that are just tuning in. Majority of the field have been caught up with big wrecks throughout these first half of the race. And we are down to just 28 drivers still out on track. There are almost half of the field has already been eliminated from this race with some type of contact and damage that they have accrued. And that is crazy to make a statement that we finally just got to halfway. Zach is are still slashing and dashing back and forth. That was Steve Ritter for a second there that we saw going high and low. And 61 big moves. Hudson, Ott. There's the 1 machine ripping the top. And you're just looking for any type of footing to go forward. But there's just a sense, Zach, this is not going to last for very long. Well, they've got maybe another 5 more laps before we start losing the rear ends all on their own for some of these drivers.
Oh, yeah, it looks Ritter sliding up there with Garand coming up the inside. This is going to be a bad aero position for a lot of them. And like you said, Sam, it almost is like, how long can we go for without that something happening? And I can even see farther back, yeah, Chris Progar, he's wrecked on the back straightaway.
Backstretch, big wreck, and it's the 7 of Chris Progrard, who was already 5 laps down, immediately getting off the racing surface. And just getting a little bit of help from the 21, who closed on the gap, lost the rear end. And Zach, another case in point. Aero griefing is very easy to do unintentionally as the 21 just closes in the gap and the 7 loses all rear end.
And you can see the closer he got, the more the rear end stepped out. I mean, and he wasn't even that close. Like, yeah.
He just locked down the brakes. He wouldn't have hit the wall.
Definitely a heavy hit there. And I think ProGuard is saying, tonight's not my night. You know, it's just one of those situations, and it's just a tough ordeal. But see how he can bounce back next week. But yeah, you can see right here, just didn't get it fully locked down, and that's what caused them to come back all the way across the track after trying to save that thing. Is I think now we're having some pit stops action go down.
Pit stops, and it's the leaders that are coming in. The 16 going to get service done. Mike Kelly and a few others saying, you know what, we pitted 33 laps ago. We want some of that track position. We'll stay out. That's kind of a shocker to see because they're out there on 34 lap old tires for Kelly Simley. Connor Patton's on 47 lap old tires. Joe Hudson on 23 lap old tires. Jamont stays out. He's on 33 lap old tires. And Mark Whitley, who just pitted 10 laps ago, that's the logical one. That makes sense why he stayed out. He's not on too crazy old tires, but yeah, along that last, Brett Hahn just drives through, getting a little bit of fuel. Same for the one machine. First set of tires taken. It's 9th place on a back by Johnny Barker. The 16, the 26, and the 84 getting their 4 tires and fuel and back out on track. And Zach, with some of the cautions that have lined up recently, Jeff Gilmore is back on the lead lap, and he's currently 14.
Love to see that, man. That's awesome. Never a give up attitude for Gilmore, and I've been watching him too. He's been just lingering back, not really trying to get in the mix, kind of making sure he survives. And I think that's just a classic veteran move that Gilmore is displaying there. He knew really was nothing to risk. No reason to go out here get loose and wreck like some of these other guys. And he's been able to pick up the pieces while others have allowed him to get back on the lead lap.
As we are waiting to get this admin box 1 to green, I think this upcoming restart, hey, we're in the second half of the race. We've got a few drivers still out there on track. I think we might do a little bit of a crank it up action here on this upcoming restart for the field. As you're going to have old tires versus new, we're going to see a lot of swapping, especially in these first handful of laps. It's going to get even worse after that. But officially, drivers that have left the server or are still sitting in pit road with damage repair. Chris Progrard just caught up in this most recent wreck. He is out of this thing in 26. Out on also in 28th, Jonathan Smith required damage out of this race. In 30th, Kevin Roy is out. In 33rd, Colin Trey Bass is out of this thing. Dross, Derek McDonald, Isaiah Sutherland, Timothy Parker, Dustin Coggins, Matt Taylor, and Eric Jensen, all out of this race. Left 25 drivers on the lead lap, and a few of the drivers still have some wounded vehicles from some of the earlier incidences. But up front, watch out. Old tires, top 7. Open for a good run. Top 8, excuse me, on older tires than the rest of the field. How well can they defend? Let's find out. Pace car into pit road. And it's going to be Mike Kelly, Scott Simley, teammates leading the charge as they're having a little bit of a checkup moment. Mark Whitley and Hudson not able to go. And we stay green. They go get rolling. And we'll have a little bit of a cranker up as drivers take off of the exit turn number 2.
Wow.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed that little bit of a cranker up on this most recent restart. A lot of drama. Got drivers missing their shifts, falling backwards. Luckily, no one was caught with a black flag. But it's Johnny Barker, Josh Barker, drivers that are going back and forth up front, middle of the field. I've seen a couple of other drivers going back and forth, but we're happy to give you the call here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me up at the booth is Zach Hall. And Zach, talking about broadcasters, here's one from turn 3 of Brett Hahn, who is seeing some chaos around him. And the 71 lingers here in 10th.
Doing a good job right now running this bottom, just kind of trying to stay out of the mix, so to say. And he's one of the drivers on fresher tires, which actually I believe he did not take tires, I think, when he came through, because his stop only 5.4. I think that might have been a fuel-only stop for the 71, so he might not be on the freshest set of tires, but he's doing a great job right now, right up behind the 37 of Connor Patton. And we've seen all night, you get it right here up behind someone, it could be a dangerous position sometimes to be in.
Speaking about danger, we got to move up to the lead because there's been some dangerous moves and almost contact. It might be contact. Barker coming off turn number 4 side by side, and they are setting up for some big sliders on each other. And Zach, we were talking about it under that crank it up. It's been a trend, about 10 to 15 laps before we see a caution come out. But these two up front, it's like they're racing like this is the last lap with how close they are against one another.
That they are. These guys are going at it, man. And I tell you what, they might they keep racing like this. That's almost contact there off the exit, but if they keep racing like this, it might bring Ducharme into it. But he's going to have the likes of Duran coming up behind him too. So it's 2 by 2 here, side by side for both positions. And I tell you what, it's just going to be wild to see, can Parker hold off Barker, because that 6 is there, but also these two having a big run just right behind them.
Back and forth, where do you go? And it's when it's especially the top 4 that are having these duels, it makes you a lot more concerned, because one wreck up front can trickle its way through the field as they're seeing everyone go side by side. And we will see what, hopefully there's a wreck behind them with this camera views. They're going around each other as it is the 26 of Parker. Barker keeping it close, but you got to give credit to Duran back in 3rd, able to fight back. And here we go, big movement to Parker, defending both lanes with dropping to the inside.
He just took the air from that 6 machine. That thing was wild. He said, I'm not just blocking the 6, I'm blocking the 51 too. He's coming up to these positions. And I think Ducharme in the 16, he's watching this going, well, I'll let these 3 battle and I'll just ride here right behind them.
No real reason to fight too aggressively when you've got your front runners utilizing every little bit of tires that we had. That was one of our 3 key factors and moments to worry about. Save your tires, but if you're going to be racing like this, why not use every little bit of it, as Johnny Barker just sends it for everything into the apex, and now going to be bringing back Parker off the exit. You can just see who's being rewarded more. Is it the entry? Is it the exit? And Zach, it looks like it's the exit. It's just the better run that you're looking for, as Parker gets a nose ahead now, but watch out for the 6 here on the backstretch.
Oh, and he's going to slide up in that last second. That was close there between those two. That's cutting it very, very close, because like I said, that's at a very critical point of the corner right there on the exit. You could get loose. Parker's sending it in there to 3. He's going to slide up, and then look, Parker does the move again that he did, picks up 3 and 4. Now he's going to cut back across, and he's going to try to take the lead here down to 1. He will clear this time on entry, but it's going to be Parker trying to fight back to the quarter panel.
Everyone's searching on where do you place your vehicle to have the better exit off the corners, but you could really see it here for 3 and 4. You're going to see these drivers just bounce and slide, and these vehicles just don't feel comfortable at all as they're going around. I mean, even looking back from the 98, that's going to be David Durand, who's technically 51 on our ticker board. And he's sliding as well, and watching the 16 do it. The bumps are so aggressive with this machine. But Zach, we're 15 laps into this run. This is the danger zone for most drivers in the back half of the field. And I'm looking, a lot of drivers are single filed out. They're not being as aggressive as we saw for most of this race. They've all calmed down dramatically here.
Yeah, it looks like that's definitely gone throughout the field. And I think, you know, as time goes on, a lot of drivers are going to learn that you just can't get away with certain things, and it's just going to pay off to be able to complete the laps, and we'll see how it works out, of course, if someone runs into some issues again. But I think more people too are starting to utilize the bottom. I don't know if the outside's getting a little too rubbered up, and the bottom's getting a little better. I mean, it looks like the outside's still the preferred groove, but that inside definitely doing a little bit better, I'd say, than we've seen all night, and some great racing going on right there.
It certainly is, of drivers going back and forth. This is the battling between the drivers for 12th and 13th. Keith Ayers on the inside, and then on the outside, excuse me, and Christian Angel on the inner groove for the 79. Angel trying to have their own recovery run after spinning out, just leaving the grid. The top 10 would be a great way to kind of splash that to the side and not really worry about it. Again, drivers that are in the middle of this pack that you got to be concerned about that did not pit on old and have not pitted over 50 laps. Jim Ott in 5th. He's going to be concerned about pitting. Mike Kelly is concerned in 7th, as well as looking at drivers of Scott Stimley. Those drivers were expecting a caution around this zone to then try to take it to the end of this race. But if there's no caution, they're going to be caught where they're going to have to pit sooner than everyone else. And this is a dangerous spot where you do not want to be one of the first drivers to hit pit road if we have green flag pit stop. Take that away. 71 of Brett Hahn going for a ride down into pit road, keeping it off the pit road wall, but driving through the grass in that turn 3 machine.
Ooh, I've seen a few people start to get loose. I watched the 77 of Whitley a little farther back. He almost lost it off of 2. So it's starting to happen once again. Even though these drivers, it looks like, are being a little bit more careful, try not to get too loose too many times. But the one thing about this car is it's just so stiffly sprung, so, rigid in the ride height areas to keep the downforce in the underbody of the car, that you go to these bumps, it just upsets and changes the aero platform of everything.
As the leaders are starting to see a little bit of shifting of guard. As Josh Parker, trouble! The 6 and 16, they made a wall! And it continues to build as they slide to the inside. Parker lets it go, but more drivers starting to wreck heading into turn number 3. And our leaders, the tires gave up, and the wall is keeping them stuck.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, I might have been stuck in the wall there for a second, but yeah, Tyler Ducharme, unfortunately, in the wrong place at the wrong time. As you're going to watch here, Johnny Barker in the 6, he's going to be ripping this outside groove. You got Jeff Pogo, lap car there right in the middle of all of this group up front. And you're going to see, I think Barker just loses the rear end there late into the corner exit. And unfortunately for Ducharme, he's the car on the inside, and he's going to go straight into the inside wall along with the 6.
And the other driver who went for a ride, a couple of drivers got into the outside wall, but the biggest one was the 42 of Keith Ayers, who went sliding. You're going to see multiple drivers go sliding around, but the 42, probably the longest slide besides our front 2, just slides a little bit of contact with the 29. And luckily, just comes to a halt as everyone else squeezes on through.
Whew. That is wild scenes there. And unfortunate for the 2 that were up front, and unfortunate for Keith there catching that damage. But great job for a lot of people there missing that incident and getting woed up, because we've seen a few tonight haven't been able to do that to the fullest extent. So looks like even some pit strategy playing out here too under this caution.
And this pit stop is so unique for a lot of drivers. Main reason why we haven't really talked about it, Zach, but the whole entire field were only given 3 sets of tires to work with in pit road. A majority of the field is already used 2. So when do you want to use your final set is kind of the tough spot a lot of these guys are at, because if you pitted 20 laps ago, you don't want to waste the set now, knowing that you're going to have to run the rest of the race on just 1 set. That's kind of forcing a lot of drivers to just hold off and are banking on another caution maybe in the next 20, maybe 30 laps to have the better set of tires at the end of this race.
Definitely seems to be like a few people put in sticky situations here, so to say, with the tire strategy. So we'll see how this works out for a few, but Durand and many others stay out here. It looks like our top 6 for the time being are going to stay out, and this is going to set up some interesting times. I mean, you can make it to the end from here. Fuel is going to be no issue to get to 130 laps complete, 40 laps on the tank here. But I think, again, the issue is how far can we go on tires before we see that next yellow?
And for everyone that's hopping on in. Thank you for joining with us here on your Thursday night of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. This is only race 3 of a 22 race schedule. We will be having the final 5 races. Top 15 have a chase. Who will take the crown for the first season of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series? As tonight's race is the Hot Atlanta 200 in the 08 configuration of Atlanta. We want to say thank you to some of the major sponsors of Keystone Motors being our replay sponsor, as well as BG Graphics, our caution sponsor. You just saw the admin box pop up with coming up to the 1 to green. We also want to say thank you to our White Flag sponsor of the 802 iRacing League podcast, White Flag 1 to go. And finally, want to say, once the racing's over, the show's not done. We still have the Riptide Radio post-race show. We'll talk to our top 3, get you prepared for next week. I hope that you can stay after the checkered flag has been woven. As up front, it's going to be David Durand as well as Steven Ritters, with Devin McCaffrey, Anthony Calatoni, Grant Humphrey is up inside of the top 5 with Keith Ayers, who just went for the big slide. Those are the drivers on old tires. How well can they survive as we're back to green flag racing? Durand with a good launch on the outside. Well, it's going to be Calatoni. But the question, Zach, fresh tires from 8 on back. Those are the drivers that are about to rip their way through, especially in the next 5 laps or so.
See how much patience here is given. Now going to be, looks like the likes of Devin McCaffrey there, who's got Josh Parker on the tires all over the back bumpers. They head into 3 and 4, but Parker will find a way to the bottom here to try to get through.
Parker does not want to wait anymore. He wants to go and go now. The 26 is ripping the bottom. You can see that red, white, blue machine. The red bumper is flying behind them. Still 2-3 wide. And again, shocker of Keith Ayers, who had the big slide. He's stuck in the middle, and everyone's trying to get around him as those tires are just toasted and done. Even with the cool-off period, it wasn't enough. As Grant Humphrey in the 48, our points leader entering tonight, started from pit road. You better be careful because you're getting narrow grip to tap. The 48 into the grass. Caution is out. And the rest of the field has to slow down and whoa up, as everyone was just a little bit too antsy. And Zach, that calm period was fun for about 15 laps. But I think we're back to chaos.
That we are. And this, I think, going to be another case of just a good old rear arrow grief here. Is you'll see Scott Simley here. Nothing he's going to do wrong, really. It's just going to be here in this position here as they go into 3 and 4. You're going to see 48 kind of goes up the track, kind of backs the middle up, carries less speed, and as the 33 gets closer, you're going to see there, the rear end just starts to step out. And fortunately for Humphrey, he's going to go around, but could have been worse. Could have hit a lot more stuff. He's just going to really have to reset after that and hit his boundaries back.
On the true bumpiest part of the track, which is the grass, I thought maybe the track was a little bit where the true bumpy spot is. Not the case. The 48er points leader will take a ride through pit road. As the rest of the field, for those that didn't pit, now you can take that pit stop, have an advantage over some. Now, there are a few drivers that if you only pit twice here tonight, that's about half the field that is still running. Anthony Calatoni, 84, who pitted 27 laps ago, still has a set to work with. Mike Kelly still has one set to work with at least, as well as Scott Simley, Connor Patton, which the 37, 33, as well as the 22, you got to think back all the way to lap 30 to 40 range. They were the guys that really waited the longest to take their first set of tires. That's what's rewarded them to be in this position, to have this extra set, just waiting in the wings if we have another late caution. The only problem, Zach, is when you have this big of a field, when the majority of the field's already used their final set of tires, you got more drivers to get by when you're waiting to finally use that final set, maybe in the final 30 to 20 laps of this race.
That's exactly right, Sam. Yeah, we have, looks like, I believe 24 cars on the lead lap here. So, yeah, I mean, if there's only like 5 or 6 people in that strategy and the rest of the field stays out, you're going to restart around 20th, 19th, 20th. And I can tell you new tires are going to be valuable, but are you going to have enough time? Are they going to be valuable enough to come from that far back? I mean, you put yourself first off in the danger of being that far back, but it is just, I think, one of those situations where yeah, you would like having that extra set, but there's so many people on the other strategy that it's going to kind of hurt your strategy at the same time.
As we have been given the 1 to green presented by the admin box, means we're going to be going green this time by closing in to third. It's going to be 34 laps to go when we go green. And Calatoni going to be out there leading the charge. 28 lap old tires. Everyone else either on 6 or less on their set of tires, which with the timing of that caution, really everyone is on a pretty similar point of freshness behind first place. So kind of equal footing for majority of the field. It's really how much damage have you collected. Grant Humphrey, who went through the grass, we'll see if he gets his black flag clear. I think he might have been caught speeding or passing under yellow. We'll see what happens. This 48 currently has a black flag. See if that gets removed or not. But up front, 84-26. You got Christian Angel in the 78. Really haven't talked about them here this evening. See how well they can go as plenty of other drivers are starting to rise to the front. A little bit of a misstep on the inside from Parker, but it's all Calatoni trying to pull away into turn number 1.
Surprisingly, not the greatest start for Parker, but one of the better starts from the bottom we've seen here tonight in second place, and he's able to clear that outside, slide up into that second spot. Is now Christian Angel. We'll have the likes of Mike Kelly, and the one who's trying to make a charge up here and get himself up into the top 3.
Update on the 48 of our points leader, Grant Humphrey. Penalty was removed, so now it's just free game. Nobody's got a penalty at this current moment. It just raced to the front with going to be 33 laps to go here tonight. The driver who's on 30 lap old tires has to find a way to defend for the lead position, but it looks like Josh Parker wants to take that top spot immediately, but trouble behind. Multiple drivers getting involved with one another. It's Tyler Humphrey who goes for a slide. David going to be Durant also involved with that, but it's the 9 that takes the brunt of it down off the apron, so we continue to stay clean and green. But Zach, it just continues to snowball for the 9 machine as we go back up for the battle for the lead position.
Here we go, battle for lead. Parker to the inside of Calatoni, and we'll see Kenny clear off of 2. Is Calatoni a little too high? It allows him to do it. Is Parker back to the lead down the back straightaway as they head into 3 and 4.
As you also saw there, fastest lap of the day put down by Rob Lowell in the 21, back in 17th position on the lead lap. After all the woes that he's had, he is back for a chance to climb through the field. But it's Christian Angel, the timing, the positioning, the 79, who we haven't talked about at all here this evening, qualified all the way back in 23rd position, one of the biggest movers of the night, is now up to second place.
Gotta love to see this when drivers are able to make this big of moves, come through the field even after qualifying. Not the greatest. And now Mike Kelly in the 22, he's looking to go around the outside of Anthony Calatoni. And Mike Kelly just really hoping for a great run here tonight for himself, because he knows he's been fast, he's been having the speed, he just hasn't had the finishes.
As we hop on board with the 79, getting a sense, trying to rip the top, build the speed up to run down Josh Parker, and if there's enough time to run down Josh Parker, again, 84 of Anthony Calatoni. If you're just joining us, he is currently on 33 lap old tires compared to the rest of the field. It's on 11 lap old tires, so big difference. Why you're going to be seeing that 84 drop back quickly lap after lap, but it's 30 laps to go, Zach. It's crunch time. But I think the big question that's going to be looming, can we stay green for 30 laps, or will we see some issues because we've only been able to go green for 10 to 15 laps at most here tonight before someone's spinning around, bringing out a caution?
That is the question. I think that's why some drivers are probably going to get more aggressive than they normally would be, possibly just because they know they might not have the time and the laps there to get the passes done that they feel like they need to. So sometimes you can get a little bit impatient as a driver due to a lot of cautions coming out, especially like at a common timing. So we'll see what these drivers do, but it could just lead to more aggression and more incidents.
Top 3 are pulling away and they stay in line. It's the battle for 4th on back that we're seeing on screen of drivers side by side. Simley, Calatoni, and also going to be seeing the 23 of Joe Hudson. Hudson, first time here tonight. The aggression from the 23. He's been passively just letting drivers by for most of this evening. And now he's the one who wants to pressure forward to get inside of the top 5. But the one, Brandon Garant, who's going to be the driver who's really finding the moment, seeing an opening, and now going to think about going to the inside, but stays in line. And those hesitation moves is what's clogging up this lane as Mark Whitley in the 77 has reemerged inside of the top 10.
Whitley trying to come back through, and I tell you what, that could be
Trouble behind, driver going for a spin and a slide. It's the 6 of Johnny Barker that goes for a big slide for himself. Brett Hahn is going to be finding himself in the middle of the pack, dropping backwards, and more drivers collected with Hahn back up onto the track. Duran's going to be involved with that one and more. And there's that another caution that comes out with 25 laps to go.
Oh man, and that was just two drivers racing side by side, catching up to Hahn, who was a little bit slower, and that was the later parts of it. But it looked like Chuck Pogo and Keith Ayers in the 42 side by side. You can see Barker there spun out, but it is just unfortunate mayhem for others down towards the entry of turn 1.
The 51 of David Duran, Robert Moyer's pick, our producer. His night is done. Engine expired. After the contact in front, driver's getting involved. Brett Hahn and the 98 on screen, 51 on our ticker board, is just going to slam into this wreck and just nowhere to go, as trouble in front of him was the reason why.
Definitely a lot of trouble there, and we'll see how this works out for a few of these guys trying to get through. But that 97 of Pogo and them just couldn't get slowed down enough from them as Hahn got slowed up on the front straightaway, and that's really what caused a huge stack up.
As we're trying to find the replay, I want to say thank you to BG Graphics for sponsoring the caution and our G Stone Motors replay. As technology, always a tough thing at times. There's not always an easy button to press. Sometimes you got to press a couple of them to get it in the right positioning, as there's going to be the initial spin. And then in front of this 98 on screen, you're going to see Pogo as well as Ayers, and just nowhere to go. Hard contact, and that is a night done and over with for Durand and that 98 on screen, 51 on our ticker. And with also the time of this yellow, Zach, drivers are using their final set of tires that still had it, and those are going to be everyone from 10th on back. Johnny Barker, Scott Simley, Mike Kelly, and also many more using their final set of tires to get ready for this potential final restart or final dash to the end.
Whew. This is going to be wild because, with the cautions we've had on the tires that are out there, will the difference be enough for these drivers who pitted there and took the tires? I mean, that's going to be, I think, the big question from everybody around. The first one out there, of course, is going to be Scott Simley, but we also got the likes of Johnny Barker, the 6th, somehow in 10th after all that's said and done. He's hit pit road.
Last week, as we get our 1 to green, sponsored by the admin box, last week the conversation was Tyler Humphrey, poor qualifying run, made it into the race, qualified 35th during that run at Pocono, and what an incredible finish. He found himself grabbing a top 10 in 6th place. Well, a driver who is inside of the top 10, currently in 5th position, Logan Troyer, Zach, qualified 39th, and a top 10 could be calling the 12, but we really have not talked about it at all here this evening, mainly because we didn't want to put a commentator's curse on him. But the green machine is trying to find his way into a top 10 potentially here this evening, and is just outside of the top 5 as we're about to go green. Watch out for some big movers here this evening. Devin McCaffrey, I've seen in chat. He's one of the drivers a lot of guys are rooting for. He's going to be finding himself in 7th position. Going to be side by side with Steve Ritter as the rest of the field stacked up, ready to go. We got ourselves 23 drivers on the lead lap. 22 laps to go. And it's Josh Parker, Christian Angel, Mark Whitley, Joe Hudson, going to be your top 4, ready for green flag action, and it's going to be a good launch on the outside, a little bit of a shuffle on the inside groove, but drivers just could not go, and it's Parker, Whitley, and the rest of the field watching behind.
Whitley doing a great job. He jumps immediately up to the 2nd spot as Hudson, he's going to drop back to 4th, and man, oh man, Whitley going to be now in position here. Can he do the unthinkable and come back from some of the big moments he's had here tonight?
Other drivers, oh no, into the outside wall, and that's Troyer. No, commentator cursed as he goes in the outside wall. That looked to be maybe a mechanical failure as the 12 just immediately launches himself to the outside. Everyone else able to drive on through. Jeff Gilmore just outside of the top 10. He's looking for a good recovery run for himself, as well as seen in front. Just outside of the top 10 is more contact, more drivers bouncing into one another. They're just turning into bumper cars in the middle of the pack as they continue to try and find the footing to crack forward, find some openings. Rob Lowell in the 21 ripping the top, seeing a couple of other drivers trying to get to that outside wall, but it's Josh Parker, Mark Whitley pulling away from the rest of the field.
That they are, and I tell you what, the new tires not making the most inroads in the 61 of Ritter up the track, and he's going to be wrecking.
Big save, but throw it away. Now going to be spinning in front of the field. Luckily, he's low to the inside, so everyone's able to avoid him. 20 laps to go, and we get another caution, and the 61, excuse me, just takes a tow. I wasn't expecting him to do that, but I honestly might have saved him from taking more damage, but might have just thrown away this run as Devin McCaffrey going to be to the inside. That 29 Pirates machine, just small contact. That's what got him loose. And then at this point, it's a lost cause, more contact, more taps, and that thing isn't being saved down to the inside. And luckily, no one else got contact, and then just takes the tow to pit road as Troyer almost about to follow the smoke right into him.
Definitely got close there of following that, but yeah, you know, Ritter's had an eventful night. He takes it behind the wall after towing there. Calls it a night for the 61 team, and he's had like I said, an eventful night. He's had contact with 3 or 4 drivers throughout the night, so unfortunately ended up on the wrong side of it this time, and now going to be out of this race. But man, Sam, this set things up interesting now, because even Scott Simley, it looks like Garrard and Kelly, they did a pretty good job there. They've all got up to about 5th place, 5th, 7th, and 8th. So we'll see if they're able to make some headway here pretty quickly.
And into pit road, going to be the 23 of Joe Hudson, as well as Jim Ott. I know a few cautions ago, Jim Ott involved with that one. At one moment in time, he was inside of the top 5, but been trying to get damage repair since that going. But less than 20 to go. Bring up that race report another time. If you're just joining us, we are under a BG Graphics caution. This is our 10th caution of the day. We've had 8 different leaders, 12 lead changes. Majority of the race has been under green flag conditions, but every about 10 to 15 laps, that has been our longest green flag run. Had a couple of cautions that have been less than that, but overall, Zach, this has been electric racing to watch, just based off how dangerous this car has been with people on top of each other, and how unsavable the car seems to be. There's only been a handful of drivers who've been able to save whenever there's a big slide. Otherwise, you're just along for the ride and hoping that you're not taking on extra damage.
You know, some races you watch out there and you go, man, like, what are these guys doing that keep bringing the yellow out? I think tonight's one of those races you watch and you go, man, that looks tough. It just looks very, very difficult out there. Everybody's has their hands full, and again, the way these cars race, the way you can pack air on the rear end and take the air off, it really creates some wild scenarios. And I think already these guys are a bit on edge already. Then you add that to the playing field, and then you add this many cars. It's just going to be a recipe for someone making a mistake at some point. So no surprise to kind of see that common trend of similar lap, people having that same incident. So we'll see how this works out. This could be a mad dash to the end, or we could have a few incidents definitely to still finish this one out.
I got a feeling we might need some overtime attempts here tonight based off how we've been seeing these guys race each other. But if we don't get overtime, we got 17 laps to go. Going to be 16 when we go green. Again, if you're just joining us, we do have a post-race show after the checkered flag is thrown. We've got the Riptide Radio post-race show. We'll talk to our top 3, get you prepared for next week's race, which we're excited for. This is just the first race of so many. Next week will be the start of the in-season next-gen bracket challenge. Top 32 in points, going to be eligible for the bracket challenge as we head to Texas, being the first race of the challenge next week. It's going to be a good one. You don't want to miss out on it, but Racing isn't over just yet. 16 laps to go, and we're green. It's Parker Whitley taking off and go as the Harpoon Design teammates going to be in line on the inside. Simley trying to follow suit on the outer groove with Parker, but not able to do so. Instead, it's Angel Whitley holding back for second and third. It's the rest of the field. 2, 3 wide. Make your choice and pickings, because up front, Josh Parker's trying to pull away.
They're doing a great job on another restart. He's done excellent, but look at the battles back. Christian Angel, he's got Brandon Garrard, the first car on new tires, trying to come through, and can the one surprise everybody, steal this win away late in the going? That would be quite the story, but Scott Simley also on fresh tires up top there trying to find his way through, along with Devin McCaffrey, who's doing a great job on the older set.
Aaron in that number one machine is honestly just putting on a show as he's been ripping the top. He's been watching other drivers make it work, and now is in the prime position, the freshest of tires of anyone inside of our top 10, ripping the top, making it work. Behind him is going to be seen Angel, McCaffrey, Simley, all trying to find their own ways to get through, but our top two, over a half a second is the difference between second and third, which is enough to just make it a duel for the lead with 14 laps to go.
So many new drivers coming into the picture. You got Ducharme, who's also coming back. He's made a great climb back through after an incident earlier between the likes of him and the 6 machine. He's really did a great job. And right now, Angel under huge threat, because that everybody around him looking to move forward as McCaffrey still trying to fight on that bottom.
And McCaffrey on older tires, 23 lap old tires for McCaffrey, 28 lap old tires for Angel. And honestly, shocking to see these two still fighting back and forth as Ducharme going to be now finding the opening on the outside for the 16. Big bump trap by the 33. And Anthony Calazzoni thinking about 3 wide, backs out of it. It's almost a stack 4 wide. Can't find the full opening, but the 84 able to slot to the inside groove. Will stay 3 wide. Watch out, McCaffrey back to turn into the pinball as there's still 3 wide, almost contact made, but Calazzoni slowly backs off as we're closing in on 11 laps to go. But can it be 11 green flag laps, because they are slicing and dicing? The 29 falling backwards. Now it's going to be the teammates of the 33 and the 22. Where do they want to go? They'll split the middle and go off the inside and outside of the 29. And it's now the slow fall off the Pirate 29 machine as he's got Madhouse behind them of Gilmore, Hahn, as well as Hudson in the mix. And Joe Hudson, remember, has the freshest tires of anyone.
How can he come through? What is Hudson going to have here for this race? 11 laps to go, and he's done a great job to get up through, but it's Mike Kelly up ahead of him. Same for Jeff Gilmore. They're trying to find their way, fight forward, but it's just maybe not enough time here and enough speed in those tires.
As Joe Hudson, Gilmore, Hahn going to be side by side working with one another, but they have a wall to get by. But up front, it is still a Madhouse battling back and forth as Ducharme, as well as Angel making contact on the entry of the corner, as Ducharme able to hold steady. Another position down for the 16. But Zach, as these guys are going back and forth for these positions, I'm watching out for the lead battle, and Josh Parker is pulling away from Mark Whitley. Whitley is losing time, and he is searching for wherever he can find speed, because where he is right now just is not working.
That's for sure. You can see Whitley just searching around the track. You might have Brandon in the background, the one he's trying to find the grip on the bottom side, but it's Josh Parker up front who's doing everything right. Last time by, he was a little bit slower than the 2 behind him, but it was by hundredths of a second. It wasn't even a big margin, and I think this time by, he should be quicker than the group behind him.
Yeah, it's only going to be trying to make the sliding move in front of Angel, able to do so just for a second, but Angel with a bigger run, keeps the nose, keeps it side by side, and down into turn number 1, the laps are ticking away. 8 laps to go for Josh Parker. Calazzoni able to move now into 5th place. A good sliding move for himself. Scott Simley going to try to find a way to get by the 79 of Angel. But it's all Josh Parker ripping the top, hitting the middle groove. You can see that line he's been running all throughout this run. But Zach, the gap was once a half a second. It's now down to less than 2/10. Whitley has found something, and he's finding the speed to catch up to the 26.
Whitley's definitely finding some speed here. Brandon Garrard Garan's behind him is also going to be under threat because Tyler Ducharme is the quickest of the drivers in the top 5. But don't count the 16 out, but here comes the 77 all over the back deck lid of the 26. Remember the power that you have sometimes controlling that car ahead. You want to drive it in there right on the back bumper, but at the same time, if he does that, Whitley's probably going to lose a lot of front downforce on his car too.
Back and forth. Where are you going to find the driver in front of you entering? Whitley's going to go wide. He thought he was going to be seeing Parker go up high out of the late decision, and Whitley loses it off the exit turn 2. Just a little bit too loose. Throws it into the outside wall. Now it's going to be side-by-side contact. We're 31 for second, and it's Tyler Ducharme sliding through from 4th to 2nd. Whitley's trying to fight on back, but Parker in his mirror is watching the Madhouse battle, and now closing in will be the 84. Anthony Calatoni's not completely out of this either.
And this is worst case scenario if you're that likes of Josh Parker, the fastest car that's been in the top 5 for the last 4 or 5 laps, has now got up to 2nd, and he got 2 easy passes from Whitley having that big mistake. Tyler Ducharme is in position to win this race.
And now going to be seeing the 12 trying to stay low to get out of the way of the rest of the field, but it's going to be Ducharme. Parker now in line with one another. Calatoni able to get by the 1, and now he's got to figure out how to get by Mark Whitley with 4 laps to go here tonight. Hot Atlanta 200 starting to heat up. Didn't think that we were going to have a 17-lap just shoot out to the end, but Ducharme is caught up. He's watched all the drivers use up their stuff, and he's taking the opportunities. He's taking the chances, and now the 16 has rallied his way to get to the back bumper of the 26. Parker better be careful because the run from the 16 is mounting, and the pass into first might be set up here, or is he trying to set up a little late dashing move because Zach, the laps continue to tick away. 3 laps to go here from Atlanta.
He's got to take his line away, Sam. He's giving him the air on the top, and that's only going to hurt him. Here now down the back stretch, he's able to drive it in there, slide up in front of him if you're Parker, and he's going to do that, but I think Ducharme saw it coming. He's coming down low. Oh, Parker's losing it.
Rex in front of the field, and everyone's trying to scatter around. Calatoni's involved. Multiple other drivers have to go through the grass, and we're going to overtime.
Wow. Insane scenario there, and just shows you again how on a knife edge these cars are.
And it was just everyone sending it, and the tires were heating up. We were at the limit of what these tires could handle, and Josh Parker dove it in, tried to accelerate, but then right when the 16 gets to the back bumper, he loses the rear end, overcorrects, and race most likely over and done. Calatoni gets a little bit of a clip, and the 84 slides into the outside wall with a hard collision for himself. And Zach, we rack him up, we stack him up, and we get another attempt at this thing.
Wow, and I tell you what, Tyler Ducharme, who's in the lead, what a race for him, because I mean, early in the event, it was contact between him and Steve Ritter that slid him back, losing a bunch of time, losing on track position. He came back through, then contact between the 6 of Johnny Barker, put him in the inside wall. Now he's driven up here late, and what a move there with Whitley making that mistake. It opened up the door so much for him.
Again, driver with the freshest of tires is Joe Hudson. He's back in 7th, but it's really just down to our top, I would say 4, maybe 6. You could throw Mike Kelly maybe with a chance, but the way these tires are set up, even if you got old ones like Mark Whitley's on 40-lap old tires. This cooldown phase is setting them up for a chance that everyone's gonna have a rally cry for victory. And we've already seen aero griefing has been the key to bring out a lot of these cautions. But what will finish out in victory lane? Will it be the one of Brandon? Will it be Mark Whitley in the 77? Could it be the 16 of Tyler Ducharme, who's making his debut race in the 802 Next Gen Elite Series? We saw it last week of Kenny Reel. He showed out for one race and won at Pocono. Kind of called his shot over Discord that he was going to win that race. Could tonight be the night that Tyler Ducharme, another debut driver, gets into victory lane, and we'll have 3 different winners over 3 races. We'll have to wait and see, but Zach, it looks like Tyler Ducharme already showing sign. Outside was what he wants. It's Scott Simley in the 33 will be the driver behind him.
You know, I like the decision to go up top. You know, we've seen all night long so far that the top side has been really the best side on all the restarts. We've also seen Whitley. He's you know, got that damage from hitting the wall there after that incident. I think for Mark Whitley, I mean, yes, he's going for this win. If he can have an opportunity and a chance to do it, he's going to go for it. But I think for him, it's just salvage, because after that hit, he could have been very much in a worse position if that had broke the toe link. So he got very, very lucky that that hit wasn't more. He's going to be holding on to second for the time being. But Ducharme on the fresher tires than him. Same for Scott Simley. I think if you're Whitley, you just want to break even here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are in our first attempt at green-white checkered overtime racing. Green-white checkered, it is going to be 2 laps to go. If we get a caution under our first lap and we go green, we will go into our second and final attempt of overtime racing. If we take the white flag, we will race it to the end, and whoever crosses the line at the end of this race will ultimately win at the checkered flag. But again, caution ended last week's race. Will it end race number 3? Let's find out as overtime racing is underway. Mark Whitley on those older tires, a big wiggle for himself on the inside. Simley trying to close in the gap, not able to do so. Tyler Ducharme already 2 car lengths ahead of the 77 as they exit at turn number 2.
Want to start exactly what you want to do if you're the 16, and Mark Whitley did a great job also as he held position. But it's Brandon Garrard, he's got the likes of Scott Simley to the inside here in 3 and 4, but it's Whitley way up the racetrack there, and it's going to be Tyler Ducharme trying to find his way to the flag stand.
Trying to look up, and he sees the white flag, and white flag is taken. This race is official. It's all about who crosses the checkered line and will take the victory. Mark Whitley ripping the top, trying to have a big run, maybe one final dashing move to catch up to Tyler Ducharme, who just looks to be too smooth, too far ahead. One driver going for a big spill on the inside. That's going to be the 6 of Johnny Barker, but up front, debut shows up. Was a threat when we read the name, and he'll continue to show why he's a threat. Tyler Ducharme will win the Hotlanta 200 for race number 3 of the season.
Good job from him, man. That was a comeback from comebacks, because he had to rebound multiple times. I mean, a lot of drivers had comebacks too because of all the incidents here tonight, but Ducharme fought hard, and he got his victory here in his first start.
And Scott Simley able to make the last dashing move over the one. He'll take away 3rd, and Mark Whitley will ultimately finish in 2nd. Those will be your 3 drivers we talked to in the Riptide Radio post-race show. 16 gets to have his fun. That was a blast to call. A lot of chaos from top to bottom of this evening. We had a last chance qualify, race your way in qualifying, where we had to say goodbye to 5 drivers at the very beginning. And then for the featured race, 130 laps in total, a lot of cautions, but a lot of exciting moments. Racing time, at the end of the day, it's the 16 of Tyler Ducharme that will find himself into victory lane. We got the Riptide Radio Show. We'll be back for more the post-action talking points. We'll be back right after this, talking to Tyler Ducharme, the 77 of Mark Whitley, and Scott Simley in the Riptide Radio post-race show right after this. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Riptide Radio post-race show. Race 3 of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series is in the books as we'll start things off with interviewing our top 3. Let's head down to Victory Lane to talk to Tyler Ducharme, who had a whole roller coaster of an evening, the ups, the downs, but at the end of the day, the 16's debut race is in Victory Lane. Congratulations, Tyler, on the win here tonight. It's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you certainly got a taste of what Atlanta with the Next Gen is like here tonight. A lot of aero griefing, drivers on top of one another, but you find yourself in Victory Lane. How are you feeling after your performance this evening?
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't really expect much. I just got home from the race shop a little bit ago and hopped on and talked to the Robbie earlier and got in here, and it was a lot of fun. I had a couple setbacks I really wasn't expecting, but I guess that kind of threw a wrench in things. And I really haven't raced a lot of this next gen car, so I didn't really realize how bad the aero was when you got behind somebody, and I couldn't believe it. So I, had a lot of experience getting up through the field there and using it to my advantage and seeing what I could do with it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It's been a long time since I've had that much fun racing.
Definitely looked like some fun, Tyler. We were definitely enjoying it up here in the booth. I mean, we saw the setbacks, like you said, you had tonight. I mean, it was just unfortunate you had to come back from those. But like you said, you learned some stuff. What do you think, like, the biggest thing was to keeping this car under control tonight? We've seen a lot of guys have a lot of issues.
I don't know. It's just like you couldn't really be in the gas full bore coming off the corner. You kind of just had to ride half throttle and kind of just not. If you mashed it, you just split the rear tires up and spun out. I mean, I did it a couple times and got loose, kind of corrected it. I mean, everyone knows this car, you can't crank it back to the right like you could an Xfinity car or a truck and save it. So that took some getting used to, but I don't know. I don't think I was more the victim of everyone else's unfortunate circumstances. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun when there's a car that's hard to drive and there's a kind of a skill gap in it, and it was a lot of fun.
I mean, Tyler, we got more mile-and-a-half racing action in front of us. We've got Texas, Chicagoland before we head to the current Atlanta configuration at Echo Park. What's your feeling like after getting a taste of it here at Atlanta to moving forward in those other types of mile-and-a-half courses?
I'm feeling good about it. Hopefully I can make these next couple races. I don't think I have anything going on Thursday, so I'm gonna try and make as many as I can and hopefully come out on top. But either way, I had a lot of fun, and thanks to Robbie and you guys for obviously broadcasting. Seems like a pretty cool place, and hopefully I can stay around for a while.
Well, we enjoyed seeing you out there on track, Tyler. Congratulations on this win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
I gotta thank Ducharme Speed. Gotta thank AJ Munger for coming out and spotting. Kind of a good win to bring back the win to the 802. You know what I mean? Yeah, just thanks to you guys for broadcasting and Robbie for putting the league on. He seems like he does an awesome job over here. So hopefully it continues to grow.
Well, it was fun seeing you again out there on track, Tyler. We hope to see you more often. Enjoy this win and good luck in whatever the next races we see out there on track.
Thank you, guys.
As that's going to be your winner here tonight in the 16 of Tyler Ducharme. Congratulations to him. Debut and into Victory Lane. A driver that we got a feeling will be making it into Victory Lane here in a matter of time. He's showing speed. It just didn't work out on the tire stint. We're moving to second place for Mark Whitley in the 77. Mark, we've called you a lot in the past, a lot of wins, but tonight you come away second. How are you feeling, though, after what looked like a difficult ride for everyone out on track?
I feel pretty good, especially just felt like got off schedule with everybody early in the race, and it was just kind of a yo-yo effect. Got to the lead at one point, and then the car decided to just randomly snap coming off two, and somehow didn't completely kill myself and lost all the track position. And the next time we got up front, whoever, I think we restarted behind. We were like fourth or sixth, and whoever restarted in front of us looked like they started in fifth gear, and we lost all that track position. And it was just a battle to get all the track position. And then at some point in the middle of the race, somehow my pit crew decided to take an extra set of left side, so I had like one less left side tire. So it was just had to run long in the middle of the race to make sure we had enough tires to make it to the end, and it was just kind of crazy. And once we got the track position in the race, I knew I wasn't coming back in pit road, and we were just going to hope for the best. It seemed like fresh tires were only like super fast compared to the old ones for like the first couple laps, and after that everything kind of evened out a little bit, and you could really aero block to, take away their advantage. And about wrecked it trying to get to the leader once, and then fell back to third, and then they about wrecked each other, and one of them spun out. And that last green white checkered, I was just trying to drive it as hard as I could without wrecking it, and thankfully we came home second.
Definitely a good salvage tonight for yourself, Mark. Congrats on that, man. But yeah, we've seen a lot of guys struggle with the aero issues of this car sometimes. I mean, you can get so loose with someone packed up right behind your bumper, and with so many cars out there, how tough is it kind of reacting and kind of putting yourself in positions where you don't get in a bad spot?
That's kind of hard because everybody had their own like lifting point, and it just seemed like you didn't know what the car would do every time you went in the corner, because one time you go down there and it'd push the nose real bad. The next time you go in there and it'd try to step out on you. So it was just a guessing game, really. And then trying to run a good line, and the seams I think were playing a really big effect. I think that's what happened to me when I was leading, and I about wrecked it. I think I just went across the seam wrong, and thankfully I was able to save it. But it was just kind of a guessing game, and I guess some of us guessed right and some of us didn't guess right, and it just kind of how it goes sometimes.
Well, Mark, we're about to be heading into more mile-and-a-half racing action. We got Texas, Chicagoland before we go for a little bit of super speedway racing with the current Atlanta configuration. How are you feeling with these upcoming races? And it looks like points have just been updated. You as well are the current points leader with the one race drop. So how are you feeling prepared for these upcoming mile-and-a-half races? How does it feel to be the points leader after 3 races down?
Honestly, I'm pretty shocked. After Pocono, we had it in the bag, and then it went downhill and went like crashing into the ravine in that race. So thankfully for that one drop race, it's one of those things. Just trying to, I'm still like, I used to drive this car a couple years ago, but it's a lot different than it was then, and especially with this new update, it's just everything feels so different and not what I'm used to. So it's just about trying to feel it out and not overdrive it, because I know that's a big thing with this car. If you overdrive it, then you can really bite you in the butt. So hopefully we can just keep some good momentum, and hopefully we don't have to wind up pulling some weird strategy to get some track position, and we can maybe contend in the top 5 most of the night.
Well, we can't wait to see how you perform in the future, Mark, as you continue to learn and grow. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Yeah, big shout out my sponsor over there, Harpoon Design. It does all the paint jobs for me and all my teammates. Brantley, he does probably, in my opinion, the best painter on iRacing. Check him out at harpoondesign.com. He's got a nice little form you can fill out. Yeah, I'll get to you really quick. He's been cranking them out lately. Shout out to everybody tuning in these broadcasted races at home. It's always fun to have people cheering you on, even if it's on the virtual racetrack. All my teammates, I know John had another just nightmare of a finish. Seems like he's got all the bad luck. Nothing seems to go his way. Hopefully he can turn around here. And then Christian, nice little, finally remembered the race and showed up and had a top 10, I believe. So all good on the teammates, and thanks for y'all putting on a great broadcast. Should be fun to go back and watch and see how I busted my butt there.
Well, thank you for giving us a show to call. Again, that's going to be Mark Whitley in the 77, coming away second here tonight. Mark, enjoy that one, and good luck next week at Texas.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
As we move from second place, we go down to third to talk to a driver we talked to a couple of times during the preseason, but it's good to talk to him during the actual point season. Scott Simley's with us, and Scott, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You come away third here tonight for the 33 machine, so it's nice to see those numbers line up, but you were in the thick of things a lot here tonight around other drivers. How are you feeling just coming away third at the end of the day?
Yeah, that was a good finish for us. I thought we had a fast car, and we were up there in kind of the thick of it for quite a few of the battles, but it just depended on with the tires and the cautions falling the way they did. Me and Mike, I think, pitted with we stayed out, and pretty much everybody else pitted there late in that run with about, I don't know what it was, maybe 40 or 50 to go, and we really thought that was a mistake not to take that, but it worked out to where, for the most part. But these tires are different. You got Goody for not very long, and then they really kind of flatten out and even out with the rest of them, because I think Mark was on maybe 40 some lap tires, and he was still running up there, and it was hard to run him down. So needed one more green white checkered maybe to maybe snag something. But boy, what a crazy, with Josh spinning there in the end and that caution and everything, it worked out in our favor. I'm not sure what happened, but I haven't looked at the replay, but it was a fun race.
Definitely a wild one, Scott. Congrats on the top 3 finish here tonight, man. Good to see you get a good finish here. But it seemed like it was pretty tough tonight, probably to stay in rhythm. With the constant trend of 15 laps and a yellow flag. I mean, the cars also being really tough. It looked like to drive, and the racing just with that many cars out there. How tough was it to stay on top of the strategy and stay consistent out there?
Really tough to keep that consistency. I mean, I'm sure you saw, but when I was in practice and I ran like 7 laps and it felt good, and then all of a sudden I don't think I was around anybody, and it just came right around. So the car just gets really unpredictable loose if you're running that bottom line and all, or that bottom seam, and if you're in traffic at all and you get under somebody's rear, it just sends them around. And I'm sure you saw that in some of the, people getting loose. I mean, it happened to me. It happened to Mike. It's just, you get close and you take the air off and this thing just zips right around. So, but the high line worked pretty well, but I still liked going down low. But man, you're just on the edge of your seat waiting for somebody to either get close or waiting for it to just whip around on you. So pretty crazy.
Describing how that car is feeling today, does that make you any bit more concerned about these future races? We've got Texas next week, Chicagoland, and then ultimately probably another tough one. We're back here, but in the current configuration of Atlanta. Does that feel of tonight make you a little bit more discouraged for these upcoming races, or more excited?
I'd have to look at the updates to see what all changed, but I think it's this track. I remember running this in the trucks and even Xfinity. You'd get the just unreal loose, and you'd have to. The only thing you could do is run that high line. It was the only way you could run it safe. And then of course you try to pass, you can't, because you're just going to go around. So I think it's the track. At least I hope it's the track, so we can have some good racing. But hopefully, it wasn't too terrible of a broadcast. But we'll move on and see how it goes in the future.
Yeah, I'll let you know. It was exciting for us to call. It was always, you never knew what was going to happen. But Scott, congratulations on 3rd. And before we let you move on, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to you guys. You guys do an excellent job on the broadcast. It's really fun to watch you guys get different analogies from the different perspectives of both of you guys. So I know everybody that that's putting that together. You got that's for you there, I think. You got somebody that's doing the video, and you guys can focus on what's going on in the race. I think that's a really cool aspect to see that in a broadcast. So shout out to you guys, BG Graphics, G Stone, and gotta thank Rob. I mean, he puts all this together on himself, and he just does a great job. And just hats off to him for putting all this together and keeping everybody in line. And it takes a lot of work. I know I say that a lot, but it takes a lot to put together a group like this. And gotta thank the shout out to Mike. I know I think he missed a shift there on that last restart, but he was gonna have a good finish too. And we were kind of working together all night. So, but it was a lot of fun. That's about it. That's all I got.
Well, Scott, congratulations once again on getting 3rd here tonight. Enjoy it, and good luck next week at Texas when we get to that bracket challenge and getting to see who you're gonna be challenging up against next week.
Yeah, it should be fun. Appreciate it, guys.
Well, that will be Scott Simley again taking 3rd here at the end of the day. As that will finish up our interviews this evening. Again, we got ourselves 32 drivers. I think there's a little bit of complication on the points end of things on who are going to be the drivers challenging for that next gen bracket challenge starting next week. We'll officially have the seedings, who's where. Exciting for the next about 4 to 5 weeks on who can find themselves getting $50 by winning the bracket. But for tonight, we'll take a look at our unofficial results as Newcomer, debut driver. We'll see how many times he can show up, but Tyler Ducharme going to be taking that first place here at Hot Atlanta 200. Mark Whitley second, third goes to 33. Scott Simley. Brandon Garden going to be taking that fourth place position for the 1 with Joe Hudson fifth. Good recovery for the 23. Christian Angel going to be taking 6th with Mike Kelly. Finally, you could say, got a good finish for the 22 as he'll take 7th. 8th goes to Devin McCaffrey. I know that's a fan favorite one to see the 29 get a top 10 finish. Jeff Gilmore went from being 3 laps down to getting 9th at the end of the day. Good run for himself. The 71 was through the grass multiple times here tonight. Brett Hahn keeps his nose pointed forward at the end of this one and will take a top 10. I mean, Zach, even the next 2 drivers in line, I feel like everyone you could say outside of the top 10, they had big rides, but who could fight back was the name of the game here this evening.
That it was. And in 11th, you had Tyler Humphrey there. He was a second place man points coming tonight. He's going to finish 11th. Rob Lowell, he's going to finish 12th. Steve Holmes in the night, he's going to be 13th with Grant Humphrey in 14th. Connor Patton 15th. Jim Ott's going to come in 16th. Keith Ayers, seen him involved in a few incidents tonight in 17th. Arabia Clayton the third, good run in 18th. 19th is going to go to Kevin Tipton, and round out the top 20 is Josh Parker. And as we look through the rest of the running order, it's most of the guys that finished outside of the lead lap, and these are most of the drivers that were involved in something major incident wise. You can see, I mean, the long list of laps lost by a few of these drivers here.
Yeah, a lot of guys that just were not able to finish out the race. They got too much terminal damage and their race was done early. Others tried to fight forward, but just not able to. And again, I want to say thank you to Michael Wolf, Kevin McDonald, Ty Dickinson, Tim Rogers, and Jason Earson for all at least attempting to try to make the featured race again. The 802 Next Gen Elite Series, only 40 drivers get to race that night, but if you show up and attempt to qualify, there are participation points that are rewarded. So it is worth your while if you're one of those drivers just watching and hanging out and thought maybe I should have qualified but didn't even attempt. I want to get out there on track, get yourself some participation points that could help you on your final push. Exciting racing this week. Zach, has been a fun one. We got to call the Lone Star drivers first race with BRB, and we finish it out here with the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. I wanted to also say thank you to the sponsors for this season of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series, that being G-Stone Motors for being our replay sponsor and a major sponsor to the series, BG Graphics for being our caution sponsor. I just want to say thank you to our white flag sponsor of the 802 iRacing League podcast. Also want to say thank you to the admin box for our One to Green sponsor. And finally, as we're under and during it, the Riptide Radio for being our Riptide Radio post-race show sponsor as well. But Zach, has been a fun week of racing, and we get to come back next week and do it all over again.
That we do, man. It's going to be fun, and then we get to add an addition of that bracket challenge and added in there at Texas. So that's going to be fun to see how the matchups line up for things there, of course. But man, what a crazy night. I think everybody's going to come out here saying, you know, we're just glad, if anything, to stay on the lead lap. Especially if you're a lead lap driver, you were probably happy because it was a wild night of just survival, and we saw a lot of people have issues, but a lot of people also rebound. So it just shows you, just because you have something happen early, you can always make it back up.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Gilmore's shown it, Steve Ritter's shown it. You might be multiple laps down in the first 20 laps of a race, but if you keep your way forward, you can come away with the top 10 at the end of the evening. We got plenty of racing action next week. We have the conclusion of the going to be the Lone Star NASCAR iRacing Series, a full-length Daytona 500 for the final race of the season to see who will be hoisting the crown. Will it be Drew Blaze or will it be Austin Mice? Those are the last two that are contending for the championship. You don't want to miss out on that one. And then we got more BRB Sundance Pro Series in the ARCA car Tuesday night before we're right back here for more 802 Next Gen Elite Racing action from Texas. But for tonight, for race number 3 of Hot Atlanta, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Free Fast Broadcasting, we appreciate you all being out here and hanging out with us live. If you're rewatching it, thank you so much. If you haven't already, remember to hit that like button if you are enjoying the show. Also remember to hit the subscribe button if you are not already, to see when we're live again. We are live again 3 times a week for next week, where we've got ourselves Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights giving you racing action. But Zach, any final thoughts before we get ourselves out of here?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in, of course, tonight. Always a pleasure to call all the action. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Robert, for everything y'all do, of course, for us. And again, thank you to 802, because these guys have been putting on a show each and every week. So excited and ready to get into next week's races, because we got 3 great leagues putting on shows each and every week.
They certainly are. And for the 802, 3 races are in the books, 3 different winners. Last week was a debut winner. Tonight was a debut winner. Who will show up next week and maybe be a debut, show up and win for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series? Well, that will be at Texas next week. Another 1.5-mile track, more racing action for 130 laps. Will we need more? You'll have to find out and see next week. But if you can't wait until then, we will see you Monday night. 2 drivers, 1 championship's on the line, 500 laps at Daytona. You expect it to be the first race of the season. It's the last Super Speedway for a championship. We'll see you Monday night for the Lone Star NASCAR Series to see who will be the champion. We'll see you Monday night for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.
I was standing, staying still, never said what I feel, and every time I took the blame, carried all this quiet shame, 'cause all the pressure in my chest, I've gotta fight to catch my breath, when every step still feels the same, trying not to break. Where do I go from here? Maybe I'll disappear. If I don't try, I'll never know. I'm waiting on you. Where do I go from here? There will be no more tears. Kill the doubt, feed the fire, hear the voice inside. Up, it's my turn this time. They took a shot, now I want mine. You fall, I rise, I take the wheel. So this is how it feels. Where do I go from here?